If you bake feta cheese with red peppers, tomatoes, onions, rosemary, and garlic, and then season it simply with black pepper and olive oil, it creates the perfect soup recipe without even using a pot.
Well, let's see if it's good. Indubitably. Shall we get started? Anybody here like puns? I like them. They make me feel good from my head to my toe. This feta be good. Okay, if you think it's gonna be good, you just might be white. It's like a little jar. Hey, Bo. By the way, I know the fit is bad, but we gotta rep that one piece, you feel me? We gotta rep that one piece, you feel me? Indubitably. Some rosemary. To the oven it goes. Just kidding, I lied. And now to the oven it goes. I don't know what that was. Just ignore that, don't you?
Just transfer everything to a blender, squeeze out the garlic, and blend it with vegetable broth.
It is time to blend. 3, 4. And now we blend. It's like shaking the whole ground.
It transforms into a creamy, rich tomato soup that is so full of flavor and perfect for dipping with non-grilled cheese.
Can I just say that you're looking great. Store-bought naan. I know. Got our grilled cheese. Now we have our tomato soup. Splash of olive oil. Failed smiley face. The moment of truth.
So good.
I've just heard this story about a girl that was rescued after the bombing of her home and after she was stuck under the rubble by the civil defense. So this girl was rescued after 10 to 12 hours of the bombing of her home by the civil defense. And the first thing that she told them after being rescued is, "Why did you leave me 4 days under the rubble?" She thought that one night or the 10 hours was 4 days. You need to know that the bombing of the people and being alive under the rubble is not that easy or a simple thing like she was stuck under the rubble. No, these people are without air, without water, without food, in the darkness, alone, hearing nothing but the screams of people around them, or maybe the death of their beloved ones around them who are injured, for example, with heavy tons of concrete over them. Okay, it's not that easy. Can you imagine that these people, the only hope for them to survive is the civil defense that is tired, without equipment, without safety, being targeted for 12 months? It's so hard for these people to survive. Can you imagine that 10,000 people are now stuck under the rubble? Until now, since the beginning of the genocide, all of these people, or maybe a lot of them, were alive. but no one rescued them. The civil defense was not able to rescue them. Can you tell me what is the fate of 80 people are under the rubble after this bombing last night? Maybe a lot of them are alive, waiting for their turn to be rescued right now. And maybe some of them are bleeding, injured, cannot breathe, babies, children, pregnant women. All of these people are without any hope right now because the Israeli army bombed their homes while sleeping. That's it.
Close your eyes. Think of the worst communicator you know. You're probably thinking of someone who either owns a small business or plans on starting one day, right? Oh my God, AG, how'd you know? Because nowadays, I feel like nobody's trying to run a business. They're trying to run a hustle. And that's why, I don't know if y'all be feeling this way, but it's like, bro, a lot of times, people are not charging you a price based around like the goods and services that they will be providing you. They're charging you that price based around the lifestyle they want to be living. It's created a world where you just can't trust price anymore. I don't know if that makes sense. It's almost like, bro, like in 2019, I remember when the Demetrius Harmon You Matter hoodies dropped. People was like, oh my God, these are so expensive. My homie got one for like $50, bro. That thing has lasted hundreds of washes. Ain't a crack or crease in it. They damn near made out of angel here. But there's hoodies, jackets I done spent $150+ on this year that already started falling apart. It's almost like this race to the bottom where everyone's trying to find like, what's the cheapest, lowest effort product I can make and sell for the most money possible, right? There's never been a bigger discrepancy between quality and price. That Dior scandal is the best example of this, right? Where like Dior got caught for selling bags that they were making for like $57, the cheapest, lowest quality bags they've ever made, but they're selling them $4,000 a pop. But there's people out there that's really putting their heart and soul, them long nights, early mornings, you know, into really crafting a product that's worth that luxury experience, that's worth that extremely high price point or even low price point, right? Especially because there's so much burnout around words like quality, luxury, sustainable, right? Like these words don't mean anything anymore. Like with luxury apartments, right? That doesn't mean anything anymore. Every apartment is a luxury apartment till you move in. I think that's a big part of what's led to like the rep era we're in, right? With like the fake shoes, clothes, jewelry, the fast fashion era we're in, you know, where like people are just kind of T-movifying everything in their life, right? If things are going to fall apart and be cheap anyway, I might as well get the actual cheapest price I can get for everything, right? And that's why I think it's so important always trying to spotlight on like the good, the genuine, great small businesses out there because there's so many of them being overlooked and disrespected. But yeah, that's why I'm always trying to wear something from a small business. I think this is enhanced by Nia, or y'all be seeing me with like the reversible bonnet I be wearing all the time from Satin Imprints, because I really do think it's important to shine that light on them, man. It's hard, bro, to be a business owner in this environment where you trying to do the right thing, everybody else doing the wrong thing and being rewarded for it, you know? So yeah, shout out to y'all though doing it.
Let me tell you about one of the worst Black history figures of all time. Meet Isaiah Montgomery, a pathetic sellout and enemy to his own people. I love Black folks, but when it comes to this guy, let me say I'm the biggest hater. Born into slavery in 1847, Isaiah Montgomery was special. He learned how to read and write while enslaved and was even given special access to his master's library. That's an important detail for later. After emancipation, Isaiah uses all of those book smarts to start a business and to buy a lot of land in Mississippi, where he founded the all-Black town of Mound Bayou, a town that still exists to this day. But this is where things take a turn in Isaiah's story. In August of 1890, an all-white group of Mississippi leaders called for a statewide constitutional convention. Their explicit goal was to figure out how to stop Black men from being able to vote in the state of Mississippi. And as it happened, the only Black delegate was Mr. Isaiah Montgomery. Now, it's important to know that Mississippi was a majority Black state at the time. These white men knew they wanted to prevent Black men from being able to vote, hopefully forever. But they needed to design a racist law without using racial language, something they're still doing today, by the way. So in 1890, they came up with this sinister plan. They would create a literacy test. Since only about 40% of Black people in the country could read in 1890, they could use this test for their desired outcome in Mississippi without violating the US Constitution, effectively ensuring that Black men would not be able to vote across the state. And despite that fact, Isaiah Montgomery, a traitor, cast his vote along with white supremacists in favor of the racist literacy test, claiming that his support for the law was to purify the ballot by only allowing literate people like himself to vote. A Black newspaper wrote this about Isaiah Montgomery: "It would be better had such a man never been born, much less have been elected to represent the Negroes of Mississippi." Isaiah Montgomery lived the rest of his life as a darling of white politicians and forever reviled by his own people. One thing's for sure, proximity to whiteness can be intoxicating.
Rap used to be street journalism and just like pure black culture, and now it's just corporate marketing of what white people think black culture is. And
I need somebody who's good with Excel to create some sort of line graph that's comparative, that shows Drake's career as well as the growth of like media companies and YouTube channels like Vice and Noisy and Genius and Complex. Like, I need someone to make that graph, because you cannot convince me that Drake, like, not that he's an industry plant in the traditional sense, but he is definitely being used as a tool to separate hip hop from blackness, for sure. Like, and I won't deny, obviously, Drake was talented. He had a peak. I loved his music at a point in time, obviously. But it's like, I think we need to go back and start looking into like how we got to where we got with hip hop. Like, how did that actually happen? And I think that Drake is a big part of it. Like, being so dominant in the industry for 15 plus years and having the successes he had and having the audience he had some of the widest, not like literally white, but obviously white, but widest audiences of like any rap star in like recent history. Like, white, everybody loved Drake music, and that's what I always used to say. Drake's music is benign. He doesn't take a stand on anything, so everybody loves his music because it's just kind of like lobotomy music, you know what I mean? Like, it's just kind of a vibe. And I used to love his music, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to like big time like what he meant to my like life and childhood in terms of the soundtrack of my life, but we have to be real though, because like he's never taken any kind of political stance. He's never talked about anything like important, especially as it relates to being a hip-hop artist. Like, people even pointed out, hell, even fucking Eminem took a stand a little bit against police brutality. Like, he has his issues, but he made political statements on behalf of black people in the black community before, and Drake has never done that. And then when you look back at the origins of hip-hop and realize that hip-hop inherently is political, like inherently it's an extension of like oral history, like an extension of our like traditions, like our African rooted traditions, like honestly in so many ways. And like, it was so political because that's how we expressed our current state of being. When nobody gave a fuck about what was going on in our communities, we were giving a fuck about it and talking about it. So for him to be the biggest artist and never say anything political, like, that's weird, right? Especially to someone who's a self-proclaimed student of hip hop. Like, he's collecting rappers' memorabilia like the crown jewels. Like, what the fuck? So it starts to make you wonder, because then you see like his audience is so like wide, like no one's offended by his music. It's not like sitting and rooted in blackness or black culture or political stuff affecting black people at all. And so then you have the rise of all these media companies that their whole point is explaining black music piece by piece, point by point, when all of that used to be implied. Like, I'm before that time. I'm before the YouTube shows and these people, like that classic image of Kendrick Lamar, like with all the bloods behind him, with that white guy with glasses, the Noisy interview that people take a picture of all the time. Like, there used to not be that, and you used to have to just listen to a song a million times to get every piece of the innuendo. Like, there was no genius for people to go and explain every lyric bar for bar, because it was a conversation in a community. Like, the people who got it, got it. The people who understood the references, and that's just kind of what it is. And maybe you didn't get it the first time, but you listen to it, and then maybe you hear something while you're out, and now you understand what they were talking about, or you get the original thing that they were referencing. And that was the beauty of rap music. Like, it was like a never-ending story. You were always uncovering things, and that's like part of the reason why I used to love Wayne, because, I mean, I can go on a whole diatribe about this, but you know what I mean. But now a part of an artist's rollout is to go in front of that yellow ass background and explain their music bar for bar. And it's like, that used to just be what it was. Like, you got it. You got the language. You were in it. Because hip hop used to be counterculture. And for you to understand the references that these people were pulling from, you either had to be black or be in community, close community with black people. There wasn't this whole other industry associated with hip hop that was meant to explain and bird feed you every piece of every bar. And so, I mean, like, I don't think that Drake is a legitimate, like, industry plant. Like, he was definitely talented. Like, I've been there. He's been famous for, like, my entire, like, whole life. Like, he was famous when I was 9 years old in watching Degrassi with my sister. So it's just kind of like, he's been famous for the majority of my life. But it's like, and he was super talented at the beginning. He had a style, he had a vibe, he had a crooning kind of vibe. But when you start to see like how his success led to all of these different things that like widened up hip hop, and yes, the money was good, I guess, but the soul is gone from it. There is like, it's meaningless sometimes now. Like, everything about it is so contrived. Like, the rollouts, the marketing, the songs. It's just like so cookie cutter so that a certain audience can understand and buy into it. I mean, I talk all about this. I talk about how Drake was the original Tekashi 6ix9ine. I talk about all of that in the YouTube video on my YouTube channel, link in the bio, where I talk about the Kendrick Lamar and Drake beef. But like, we need to have a conversation, I feel like, as a community. Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I am tired of these weak ass hear me outs. What happened, man? We used to be a proper country. I remember back in the day when people would say hear me out, they would show Lightning McQueen. Now they say hear me out and show one of the most attractive people you have ever seen in your life. The amount of posts I've seen saying, yo, hear me out, bro. Hear me out. The grandma from Don Da Don is kinda fine. Oh my days, you're attracted to the grandmother with an amazing body who looks like she's 23 years old? Dick found in ass. Bro, what are you talking about? Talking about some hear me out. Everybody and their mama has been listening. Matter of fact, no one has ever stated otherwise. I need the real hear me out. Something that'll have my eyebrows raising, but nothing too crazy, because I've seen people do hear me out and show Honey Senpai in a lane like, ooh. I don't know about all that. There are the few hear me outs that do teeter the should I call the authorities line. I remember seeing one 4 years ago where someone showed Airbud, my man's, the golden retriever. That's a dog, like in real time. Another thing, I am tired of hear me outs for characters who are simply red flags. No, 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 stick to the script. That is not a hear me out. That's just pretty privilege in the work. That character is still conventionally attractive. They are just a bad person. People really say, wait guys, hear me out. Naya from Jujutsu Kaisen. God, bro. An attractive male who would rather die before he respects women. I can go to campus and find 10 of those right now. Statistically speaking, that is your average frat house. A decent looking misogynistic man. That's a lot of these people's fathers, homeboys, and boyfriends. Wrap it up. I should be able to say, hear me out. I want to be Optimus Prime's Doonies down until his headlights explode. We're not stopping until we gotta change tires without you looking at me as if you saw a ghost. I should be able to say those things. I should be able to say, hear me out and show Lord Beerus, but I can't. I can't because y'all's hear me out is Shoyo Hinata from Haikyuu. Bring back the real hear me outs. The other day I saw this one girl show the hand from the Addams Family. Now I was appalled, but I was moved like, you know what? Hell yeah, we need this. Guys, just hear me out. Hear me out. Let me see. See, you get it. You get it. No, I see it.
And just like that, Rebecca Cheptegei is gone. Rebecca is a Ugandan runner who recently competed in the Paris Olympics. Upon coming home, she purchased some land so that she could do what she needed to do, train, enjoy her life, live, and her ex-boyfriend set her on fire. Over 75% of her body was burned, and I woke up this morning to the news that she had passed away. This monster sent her to meet the ancestors in the most agonizing way he possibly could, because he was jealous, because he wanted to stop her shine, because he was mediocre, because he could not stand to see her rise. At the first sign of jealousy, leave. When they show you who they are, when they let you see the monster, leave. You cannot change them. You cannot help them. You cannot love them into being better. This beautiful spirit, this dear woman who worked so hard to live her life, to go for her dreams, her goals, this woman, her life was cut short because her ex-boyfriend could not stand to see her win. My heart is absolutely broken. How many women, how many femmes, how many non-binary people have to lose their life because y'all are jealous? Because you're mediocre? Because you can't do what you need to do to go for your dreams, your goals, your desires? How many of us have to lose our lives because you are inadequate? How the hell is it a mark of manhood for a man to kill someone because he feels inadequate, because he's so insecure? How is that manhood? It's not. Y'all are a bunch of little boys who have never developed past 3 years old, and you cannot handle it when someone, not even paying attention to you, is rising above you. It's at the point where it's not only good enough to leave. Now we got to make it unsafe for them to be around us. We have to make it unsafe for them to be around us. We have to make it as unsafe for them to be around us as it is for us to be around them. On this day, I'm sending so much love to Rebecca's family and all of her relations. I pray she was met by the ancestors with so much beauty and fanfare. I pray she knows how much she was loved and adored and how deeply her ancestors were proud of her. She did not deserve that. She did not deserve that. None of us deserve that. I pray she can rest now. I pray she can look down on her legacy and be so proud of what she's done. I pray she understands what an inspiration she is. And I pray she knows that we will not let her death be in vain. Rebecca didn't deserve that. None of us deserve that. It is wild what jealousy and insecurity will drive people to do. When you see this, if you see this in a partner, run. And make it as unsafe for him to be around you as it is unsafe for you to be around him. I pray peace and healing upon everyone who sees this.
The bitches with the real pretty privilege, like the ones that are so drop dead gorgeous that they can get the whole crew in for free. The whole crew, regardless of what the crew looks like, they get them all in for free and they get them all into the sections and get them all drinks for the rest of the night. The ones that skip the line every single time, they are not on this app trying to teach you shit. They're not. I rolled with a couple of them before in my lifetime. They don't give a fuck. The only person they care about is themselves. And the next club they can get in and the next nigga they can take their money from. They're on Instagram watching your man like their post. They don't even motherfucking talk on the app. They don't even talk on Instagram. They don't even talk on TikTok. They're not trying to sell you shit. They're not trying to teach you the game. They don't even really know the game themselves. They just know that their body and their face been unlocking doors for a long time. And whatever they decide to do with that, whether they decide to go to college and move forward or they rock it till the wheels fall off and they become a bartender, they don't give a fuck about what you're doing. They're not teaching you. They're not going to sell you nothing. So anybody on here trying to teach you how to snag a millionaire, sell you a book on how to snag a millionaire, is actually trying to recruit you into prostitution. And y'all don't be believing that. And y'all get on here and anybody who say that, y'all say, oh, it's always the ones that look like. No. Let's really critically think about this. The girls that really have the face card and the money, what do their content consist of? It's either that they are the hot commodity or look at my beautiful lifestyle. They don't even talk to us. Stop getting tricked by these women, these femininity coaches trying to sell you something. There's another creator I will tag or her name on the screen that explains this way more elegantly than I did. Because I'm just calling y'all motherfuckers dumb. Nobody is on here. That's like buying into crypto. These motherfuckers figured out crypto and now they're trying to teach you instead of running off to a motherfucking island. Come on.
Kamala Harris is surging in the polls, but there's one thing that Democrats are suddenly very quiet about. Climate change. Harris was the tie-breaking vote for the biggest climate bill in U.S. history, and yet Democrats have not highlighted climate change in recent speeches, including at the DNC. It seems to be a lose-lose situation for Democrats. If they talk about it, they risk alienating voters in swing states.
I've just connected some dots, and let this be a message to anyone who runs a social media campaign. If it's something crucial, maybe get your influencers to sign NDAs. I realized that by making this video, I'm fumbling up the future bag, but you guys know me. I'm not a real bag chaser. I mess up my money all the time. I was supposed to take part of a social media campaign that would have launched last month. Specifically, it was talking about climate change. Even more specifically, it was talking about the biggest act dealing with climate change in recent times, the Inflation Reduction Act, a nearly $400 billion piece of legislation that is currently in place trying to create alternatives for jobs when it comes to the fossil fuel energy, like sort of incentivize more renewable energy, things like that. My part in this campaign would have been highlighting that 40% of it is supposed to go to like underprivileged communities of color, people with less money, reservations, things like that. But they canceled the campaign and sent me the money anyway. And at the time, I was like, all right, cool, smooth 3K. I'm not chilling. This is rent. This is rent for a couple months. I'm chilling, bro. I never stopped to ask myself, why would they cancel the campaign highlighting an incredibly important piece of legislation that the Biden-Harris administration put into effect. And it's because they're not talking about climate change. Oh my God. I'm working on a video right now talking about the Never Trumpers and their sort of political goals. As you know, we saw multiple Republican speakers at the DNC, but I've been kind of trying to veer away from actually talking about Kamala Harris because people just get mad at me, and you know what, I'm tired of getting yelled at. I'm just tired of getting yelled at. I can already feel the comments coming in now, and it's like, yes, electoral strategy, swing states, the Democratic Party's rhetoric becoming incredibly and increasingly more conservative, especially on something like immigration. But come on, give me a little leeway in saying this is bleak. All right, people are always like, oh, you're a leftist. And so it's like, no, this is the thing that I was observing. And it's like, it's not me being a leftist. The Democratic Party, in an attempt to win this election, which, you gotta tell you, man, you gotta do what you gotta do. But like, in an attempt to win this election, they're dropping regular Democrat things and shifting right. And, if what ends up happening is that this is like part of the game they play in order to win the election, they do this, they play it moderate for 4 years, and then in the 4 years after that, they do some real, like, let's get some more progressive, interesting policies for the benefit of American people in. That'd be cool. But in my research of like what the goals are for Never Trumpers, what if they just go more right? What if the Democratic Party becomes the party that is anti-immigration and ignores climate change? That's not me having weird, that's not leftist even. That's that Overton window. So don't get mad at me. I'm not trying to look. I want Kamala Harris to win. I do not want to see another Trump presidency, but like we should not like go like la 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 while we see this happening. You know what I mean?
So the other day I was tagged in a video talking about the privilege of being able to boycott. And the creator, I'm not going to tag him because I feel like they get a lot of hate anyways, but the creator pointed to disability being one of the reasons why somebody may or may not be able to boycott something. And I want to talk about this from a very superficial level and then kind of dig down a little bit deeper into it. And I'm going to talk about brands, particularly boycott safe brands, and their exclusion of disabled people. So in December, I actually got a PR package from a company called Guide Beauty. Guide Beauty's chief creative officer is Selma Blair, which, if you know, she was caught making Islamophobic comments on Instagram. Now, I had gotten this PR package back in December. I think I was away when I got it. And luckily, my ADHD finally worked in my favor because by the time I was actually ready to make the PR video, I had already seen those comments and decided not to do anything. Instead, I reached out to my management. A lot of people are like, you have management? Yes, I do. I have management. And I reached out to my management and I said, can you go down a list of boycott safe brands and see if they're willing to collaborate on an accessible beauty line or something that's accessible to disabled consumers in the beauty space. And it's fair to say that I'm not a beauty creator, but I'm personally of the mind where, like, if it's not me, I would love to make connections and make sure that people are getting the opportunities that they want. I just want to know if brands are open to actually working with disabled creators, as well as developing something for disabled consumers. My manager went down the list and contacted as many beauty brands as possible to see if they'd be willing to collaborate with a disabled person on something like this. Every single one of them said no, or said that it wasn't the time, said it wasn't, didn't have the right budget, what have you. And all of those things could be true, but that still means that Guide Beauty is going to be the place where most disabled people get their accessible beauty tools. And that is an inconsequential example. I've seen people lose aid workers, people to help them get dressed and showered and go about their day because they are pro-Palestine. There are disabled people that become homeless for their pro-Palestinian stance. But imagine there's a product or a service that you need to survive, and all of your options are boycott unsafe. And the companies that are boycott safe aren't really interested in working with you or even branding to consumers like you, which is very ironic given the nature of what's going on in Palestine, right? Because this is a mass disabling event. And the people seeing that it's a mass disabling event would much rather say that those people's lives are over because they are now disabled than ever create a world in which disabled people are actively included. Like, I can understand why you would think that life is over once you have a disability. Are you one of the people making it difficult for disabled people to live our lives publicly and inclusively? And this also very much so goes with the Congo too, right? Disabled people use a lot of technology to get through our everyday life. And while I personally am going to cut back on the amount of new technology that I buy in solidarity with the Congo, if somebody's deaf and the software that they use to navigate and translate their world only exists on new phones, are you willing to learn ASL so they don't have to get that new phone? Part of the reason why disabled people lean on technology, on these boycott unsafe brands and all these things, is because we've designed a society where private corporations take the lead on actually designing inclusive societies. And it's between them and disabled people to make things work. But for the most part, everyday society, very much so, does not really interact with disabled people.
I'm gonna sing another little song today, but I'm gonna show you my outfit. Guess what the theme is? Moons. Moon goddess over here. Got my moons. Got my, oh man, I feel like this is crooked. Stop being crooked. I don't know. I usually do light earrings because my hair is dark, but because when my hair is pulled back, I feel like the shirt is kind of like pulled out more, so I feel like it could have worked with some black ones, but I don't know. Whenever I'm wearing my natural hair, I just avoid black earrings because they just, you know, they fade in. But you know, I got my stripes on. Hopped out of my bed, got my stripes on. Some, look in the mirror, say what's up. Yeah, I'm getting money. Okay, that's not the song. It's not the song I'm singing. Okay, I'm gonna sing another song that I wrote. And hopefully it's good. Like I said, I'm trying to get back into my singing. I'm a little rusty, but you know. All right. Shake off them nerves, girl. Gotta shake it out. Doesn't ever ain't the same. Well, that shit's on now, okay? Okay. I'm gonna sing my song now. I don't get what you're saying. I'm some drunk, fucked up takes. How could I know it be something regret? I messed up the syllable count. I don't know why you're lying. I just cannot hear, but I know you're unavailable. You're unavailable. You're unavailable. You're unavailable. Unavailable. You're unavailable. You're unavailable. Girl, he's so toxic. Okay, damn it, that might always mess it up. Like, you have to get the syllable part and it's just fucking right, and it just sounds weird to me. Girl, he's so toxic and bitch, that shit, you know. Girl, that shit, you know. Girl, that shit, you know. He's unavailable. Okay, yeah, whatever. Like, I need to... Sometimes I be punching it too hard. Sometimes I don't be. Whatever. Okay, you guys are along for the ride, right?
I have to go out of my way every single day to avoid listening to Fall Out Boy. Yesterday, I was laid over at the airport for a little bit too long. I said, let me just listen to one song. Turned into multiple hours of exclusive Fall Out Boy listening. I have a real problem. This is how they end up on my Spotify Wrapped every year. It's because semi-annually, quarterly, I'll go through a week where I just listen to that. And forgive me if for the next week this becomes a Fall Out Boy stan account. When I was a kid, I did not really like music. Like, I enjoyed music. I didn't love music. Now I do music for a living. I loved Take This to Your Grave. I went to the public library that was outside my house, and I was looking through CDs. I was like, none of this really moves me. Like, I don't know. I'm not really catching it. I'm not really a music kind of guy, blah, blah. I found this random all blue CD cover. I took it home. I popped it in the CD, put it into Windows Media Player. I let the show go. It changed my life. And I want to tell you, this moment in particular changes the chemistry of my brain. Play it. This is a song called Chicago Is So 2 years ago. Changed my life. This moment.
Girl, you might hold your breath until your breathing stops forever. The only thing you'll get is this curse on your lips. I hope they taste of me forever. There's a light on in Chicago, and I know I should be home. And all the colors of the street signs, they remind me of the pickup truck out in front of your neighbors.
Y'all don't understand. This song came out in like 2003. I found it in like 2006, 2007. I was this tall, little black kid, Haitian kid in Florida. These white boys are singing about Chicago, and I had just heard the name Barack Obama for the first time in my life. The world was open. You weren't there. You had to be there.
Nikocado avocado. Now, before I start this video, as a fat person, let me just say this. I'm of the mind people could do whatever they want with their bodies. I wasn't really into his content. I wasn't really into like the discourse about him. I did know that people kept like harassing him because he was becoming fat on purpose. But this isn't about him necessarily like being fat or losing weight. This is about the communication strategy behind it, because I'ma eat for days. I'ma absolutely eat for days. Like, do you know how many conversations he has bypassed? Like, the strategic nature of what he did. Like, planning out 2 years worth of content. 2 years worth of content. And the entire time losing weight, right? Outside of the gaze of every single person who's been shitty to you for being fat. Like, that in and of itself is a dream, because the amount of time, like, people as a fat person, people don't want you to necessarily lose weight. They want you to act out penance for being fat. He said, fuck y'all, you don't get to watch me labor over this. You don't get to watch me hem and haw and struggle. He said, I'm gonna do it for myself. And nobody has to watch. Nobody has to engage with me over it. And that's a flex. And then planning out 2 years worth of content in order to do that, in order to pull it off. Like, the strategy behind it and the reveal. Chef's kiss.
Who's really responsible for Trump's landslide victory over Kamala Harris? Was it the third-party voters who spoiled the race, or was it the millions who rallied behind Trump once again? Let's dive into the actual numbers and see what's really going on here. First, let's take a look at Trump's core supporters. While Harris won the younger women 18 to 44 vote by over 10 points, Trump held firm among women 45 and over, narrowing her lead. Harris worked hard to appeal to white women on issues like abortion rights, yet Trump still claimed a surprising amount of their votes. Now let's take a look at black voters. Among black voters, Harris remained strong, but Trump made notable inroads, especially with black men, claiming 20% of their support compared to just 8% in 2020. The Latino vote also showed shifts. Harris led with 56%, but Trump's gains were significant, particularly with Latino men, where her margin dropped to a tight 50% over Trump's 47%. And here's where Harris lost critical ground: younger voters. She only edged out Trump among those aged 18 to 29 by a slim 52% to 46%, a steep drop from Biden's 61% in 2020. Harris also lost traction with white and suburban men groups Biden had narrowly won in 2020, but who flipped to Trump this time around. Low Democratic turnout is also a contributing factor. Over 13 million registered Democrats sat out this election. Trump's vote total in 2024 is lower than his count in 2020, though ballots are still being tallied. But here's the question: is this really a massive realignment, or is this a real story about those millions of Democrats who didn't bother to show up? Notice how we haven't even touched on third-party voters. That's because they barely made a dent in the sea of shifting support and turnout drops. Third-party voters, which include the Green Party, Independent Party, Libertarian Party, and then write-in candidates, accounted for a little over 2 million of the total overall votes. That's about 1.4%. Vice President Kamala Harris lost by almost a 5 million margin in the popular vote and by 86 electoral college votes. She lost all the battleground states that Biden had won or was very competitive in. It's understandable to feel levels of frustration, but when anger turns into comments about calling ICE on Abuela or laughing about Trump flattening Gaza, it's worth asking what this says about you. Venting is one thing, but when did venting become a gateway to espousing white supremacist rhetoric? But back to Harris. She ran with the message of reaching across the aisle, a time-honored Democratic strategy. Yet even after years of outreach to moderate Republicans, the result was still the same. 94% of Republicans voted Trump, the same loyalty that he saw in 2020, while the Democratic base shrank. So who's truly at fault here? Was it Harris's refusal to endorse an arms embargo in key swing states? Was it the millions of voters who stayed home? Or was it plain and simple the loyal Trump voters who turned out in force once again? While we fight amongst ourselves and say horrible things, those in power are gearing up to remind us who's really in control. We've got 4 long, arduous years ahead. Some of us are ready to continue to fight, not fade away. So I've got to ask.
This message is to black women and black women only. Okay? Stop giving your shit up to motherfuckers that don't give a fuck about you. Okay? The signs are there. The red flags are there. The fact that I just watched a documentary where these are men that are fathers of daughters, uncles of nieces, grandsons to grandmothers, sons to mothers, and even have women that are their fucking friends. And really told a woman, all because they like a motherfucking music, but y'all say y'all don't like dick, but you gonna let a motherfucking music change your perception as to how the fuck you see right and wrong? Y'all is some lousy motherfuckers, and you don't even deserve to be around the women in your motherfucking space. And then a woman that sat up there and paraded with them motherfuckers trying to be a pick-me, bitch, you just as fucking bad. With y'all disgusting motherfucking asses. The fact that some of y'all damn selves would have been up in prison if some of that shit happened to y'all motherfucking children. If some of that shit happened to y'all motherfucking family members, people that y'all knew. And you gonna sit up here and tell a woman that, oh, instead of getting shot up in the foot, bitch, you should have got shot up in the head. You is not a motherfucking man. Y'all sit up here all the fucking time and talk about, oh, Bernie Mac so real, man, the real keep down. Oh, Nipsey Hussle, man, they keep down. Oh, Tupac. Them motherfuckers, if they was alive, they wouldn't like y'all asses. They would hate y'all asses because you don't act like a fucking man. You is a bitch. Joe Budden with your bitch ass. Chris Brown with your bitch ass. Bitch, I don't give a fuck what gang you related to. The way that you act is horrible. And baby, I ain't scared of nobody in no motherfucking gang, because one thing about it, my God will send legions of angels if you think you gonna fuck with me. But the fact that y'all set y'all ass up there and literally bullied a woman because she told her side of the story when God gave y'all a chance to be a motherfucking man and you failed. If one of y'all asses would have defended that woman, you could have changed the way that black men respond to black women that go through shit like this every motherfucking day. You ought to be fucking disgusted with yourselves. You got daughters. You got fucking daughters. When I tell y'all I thank God every day for who he is, how he is, and where he stand. Because one thing about it, baby, my God ain't got to sit up here with a chain around his neck to try to prove dominance. My God ain't got to sit up here and deride the next person because he know who he is and he's him. He's the only him. That is the only person that y'all ass need to be looking up to. Want to look up to a motherfucker that dance and hit bitches. Want to look up to a bald-ass motherfucker that was finna get jumped by 3 motherfuckers and set up here with his scary ass. After all that talking shit, now you want to bow down, bitch. No, take the ass whooping. Disgusting-ass motherfuckers. You are a fucking disgrace. And black women, stop fucking these motherfuckers. Go find you somebody, bitch. I don't give a fuck if you gotta go fuck somebody outside your race if it means that they respect you and give a fuck about your life. As long as you ain't laying up in the bed with one of these motherfuckers that clearly don't give a fuck, especially if it came to somebody that they like, oh, bitch, we gotta do better.
They're doing it again. They're doing it again. Trigger warning, video game racism and nerdy shit, okay? We talked about this situation last year. For context, I'll put that video in the description. But another black person, black woman specifically, is coming to Mortal Kombat. Just stick with me real quick. For those who aren't familiar, the robot characters from Mortal Kombat, Sector and Cyrax, they're both coming to MK1. And I think I touched on this in that last video, but the whole point of this game is that they're in an alternate universe of sorts, where things are heavily altered and very different for most characters, okay? So in this game, they're both women, which shouldn't surprise anybody. We knew there were gonna be gender swaps. Obviously, that's not surprising, but cue all the incels.
This is where I draw the line. This isn't my Mortal Kombat. I want a refund. I didn't pay for this.
Bitch! Shut the fuck up! Go woke, go broke. We all know that one, right? Ooh, she's just Tanya in a different font. And then, get the monkey bitch off my screen. Get the monkey bitch off my screen? Because the hate isn't even going to Sector for real. It's just mostly for Cyrax, and we all know why. All this new Cyrax hate and all this lingering Euro Tanya hate. Let me tell y'all something.
Not on my watch. Not on my watch.
See where y'all fucked up? It's black girls and fighting games is my personality. It's why I wake up in the morning. It's active. actively tethered to my life force. See, I knew this was gonna happen. I knew it was gonna happen. I prayed for more black folks in this game, and I was prepared this time I wasn't gonna be nice. DEI in Mortal Kombat is crazy. No, my foot up your mother's prolapsed ass. That's what's crazy. User Lucas1375, right? There's already 3 of them. There don't need to be more. Went to the bio, got some interesting information, right? Came back to the thread, and I replied, Lucas, your father is dead. He's dead and he's never coming back for you. In the bio, clear as day, RIP dad, from this date to that date. But I'm wrong. If I take the dad's face, Photoshop it onto a different character while Cyrax performs her fatality on them. And then I tag Lucas. This remind you of anybody you know, Lucas? Maybe this is how he went. Maybe this is what he looked like when he died. I don't know. And I have to bring it back around the monkey bitch, because that was crazy. But you want to know something? It did make me laugh. The absurdity of it, because it did get a chuckle out of me. But remember a couple weeks ago when I said I want more racism like that? Like if I have to deal with racism, at least make it funny, make it old school, make it abrupt, make it, you know? So you know what? You got a laugh out of me. But that laugh is going to cost you. So I doxed him. I did. I doxed him. I DM'd him a screenshot of his comment and I said, interesting. And then I DM'd him a picture of his house. It wasn't that hard. Whole comment thread deleted within minutes along with his account minutes after. I'm not playing with you bitches. I'm gonna show you diversity, equity, and inclusion when I shove my foot up everybody's ass. You wanna know something? I'm going this hard. I don't even got the game. Not that I didn't want it. It's just I'm not paying $70 goddamn for no fucking video game. I don't know who these fucking corporations think they are. Yes, I'm broke, but that's not the point. Because when I do get my hands on this game, because I will, I'm whooping everybody's ass with the black girls. P.S. I hope Jackie Briggs makes it into the game. I know how controversial that is, but I don't give a fuck.
Rebecca Sugar, this video goes out to you. I'm not gonna lie, you don't need to make no new shows, no new material, no new nothing. What you need to do is go back and remake Steven Universe with all the messy and toxic dynamics that you done drawn in these fucking sketches, bro. Cause oh my god, first it was Greg and Pearl. Now it's Amethyst and Sadie. I know you got more. I know you got more of them sketches. I know you got more in that noggin of yours, bro. Like I'm telling you, what you need to remake Steven Universe with them fucking dynamics, man. You think I'm fucking lying? Do the same shit that Evangelion did, bro. You know them fucking Ava rebuilds? Yes, bro. You need to do Steven Universe rebuild. Rebuild the whole fucking show from the ground up with them toxic dynamics. I wanna see you remake this shit, bro. Remake it in your vision, in your true vision. Cause I know you got more of them sketches. There's no way those 2 sketches are the only ones you made, bro. I know. Your mind is wild. I want to see more of that shit. That's what I want to see. That shit will be peak television. Have fucking HBO put that show up, man. That shit will be fucking. Ooh, I'm telling y'all, like, she's cooking. She was cooking with them sketches. I'm like, oh, this is tough. This is like, it's messy. It's toxic, but it's real. It's we need that, Rebecca. We need that.
I really don't know how many times it needs to be said, but disabled people can't evacuate. Disabled people quite often cannot evacuate. I don't know what you all are hearing. I don't know what you all are thinking, but a lot of times disabled people can't evacuate. And blaming people for not evacuating, particularly when people from those areas are literally saying that it came in so hard and so fast that they had no time to prepare. Even the able-bodied people had no time to prepare, let alone the disabled people. Not to mention, a majority of Americans cannot afford more than a $500 emergency across the United States. Across the United States. I don't know how much you think a hotel room costs in an emergency. Actually, let's talk about how much a flight costs in an emergency. Because Americans who live in Lebanon are being charged upwards for $4,000 to $20,000 for a flight out of a country being bombed by weapons sent from their own homeland, the United States. Everything costs more in an emergency because capitalism means, oh, well, as long as there's, a higher need, a higher demand, then we get to charge more. What's not clicking? I don't get what's not clicking. Oh, one more thing. If you are going to be smug with people in the southern United States, let me tell you about a dynamic you don't think will play out, but will actually impact you. because you care about it. Voting. The people disillusioned by the same political process are some of the very same people you are tempted to make fun of or are actively making fun of right now. The people who quite literally cannot afford to evacuate, do not have anywhere else to go. The people that can afford to be somewhere, can afford to move somewhere. The people that are massive vote local organizers who have some of the wealth to move elsewhere will move elsewhere into those literal enclaves where you think you're safe. And from then on, they will change the entire landscape of the political arena where you live, since I know that that's what you care about. That's why you all dunking on Chaperone doesn't make any goddamn sense. She's from the Midwest. She knows these dynamics. That's why she said research and vote local. The people you're making fun of are the people that don't have anywhere else, don't have anything else. And they are not your political opponents. 9 times out of 10, the political opponents you all are facing are the ones that can move and migrate elsewhere in the face of climate change, despite professing to not believe in it.
What is going on in Haiti is coordinated systemic violence that is eroding the country from within and further propped up by anti-Haitianism. Yes, you heard that correctly, anti-Haitianism. It is imperative that as we discuss Haiti, we also name the unique violence Haitians are being subject to as a result of deeply entrenched, manufactured, propagandized perceptions that not only exist across the diaspora, but globally. There is a unique kind of animosity reserved for Haitians that is reinforced through religion, popular culture, and government policy. And I want to be clear, acknowledging this isn't divisive. Instead, it should further clarify how expansive negrophobia is. There's a reason why every time Haiti falls victim to a natural disaster, the Christian church is at the scene of the crime, spewing xenophobic rhetoric justifying our plight.
Haiti is one of the poorest countries in the world. In fact, they say it is the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. Well, I'll tell you why, because in the 1700s, when the African slaves came to the island of Haiti, and they introduced an idea called voodoo. And if you go to Haiti, voodoo is actually recognized as a religion. And so we look at Haiti and we ask, why is it one of the poorest countries in the world? There is a spirit.
There's a reason why Haiti's only ever depicted as this savage, poor, uncivilized country that its own people can't control, but that Royal Caribbean be parked at Labadie. There's a reason for why, as long as the U.S. has maintained that it only aims to support Haitian efforts to restore security, the rule of law, democratic institutions, Haiti's condition has only further worsened. As far as America is concerned, it does not matter the sitting president. This is the U.S. foreign policy on Haiti.
If Haiti, a god-awful thing to say, if Haiti just quietly sunk into the Caribbean or rose up 300 feet, it wouldn't matter a whole lot in terms of our interests.
You know, I saw this tweet a while back and it read, unity in the West Indies is built on anti-Haitianism. Where's the lie? Where's the lie? Where's the lie? Where's the lie? Is she in the room with us? Again, I want to be clear. I don't say this to be divisive or to cast wide generalizations on anybody, but I want us to think critically. I want us to engage this in good faith, because what does it mean when other Caribbean countries adopt repressive measures against Haitian refugees fleeing persecution? What do you call escalating migration-related abuse? What do you call forcing refugees to return, expelling them without due process, going against international law? Love my Yardis, love my Kenyans, down. But we do not need y'all troops invading the country. We don't. All of this on top of the anti-Haitianism that's long festered in Latin countries in the Caribbean, the colorism, the racial caste systems. Anti-Haitianism is a prevailing attitude that colors how people perceive and enact violence against Haitians domestically and internationally. Anti-Haitianism supplements our understanding of anti-Blackness by unveiling the sustained pattern of literal and cultural genocide of Haitians through means of religious vilification, forced displacement, political and economic strangulation, and most importantly, global anti-Haitian solidarity.
You're hard to read.
I am hard to read. I refuse to be disrespected on my own show. I'm Ananiah, this is Gaydar. Today I'm gonna find out if you're straight, gay, or homophobic. What is your name and what are your pronouns?
I'm Sabina. My pronouns are she, her.
What is a hag?
Also known as a fruit fly, some could say.
Absolutely.
A woman who loves to surround herself with gay gentlemen.
Are you a hag?
I would say I don't chase, I attract.
What politician banned conversion therapy in his state?
I don't know that one.
Governor Tim Walz.
Wait, no way.
Yes, and who signed a bill protecting gender-affirming care for trans youth?
Was it the very same?
Very same.
The very same.
Very
Tim
same,
Walz?
Tim Walz.
Oh, wow.
Very same.
We love that guy.
Marry, kill, Billie Eilish, Lord, Charlie XCX.
I'm gonna go ahead and marry Billie Eilish. Charlie XCX. and I'm gonna kill Lord. And I saved that for last because I wanted to say it really fast because that was my instinct. And I'm sorry, that's just the way my mind and heart are set up.
Whatever she said. However, I don't have a lot of remorse. That's not true. Who is Cleve Jones? I also didn't know this, by the way.
A figure of importance in some sort of queer way.
You know, we gotta keep the public schools open. Cleve Jones is an American AIDS and queer activist who created the Project AIDS Memorial quilt.
Okay.
Lesbians are trying to secede from the union. We need a unified look. What's gonna be on the uniform?
Big pants, little shirt, maybe.
Looking at our director right now.
Big pants, big shirt sometimes as well.
What is ballroom?
Queer culture kind of dance/performance. There's a variety of categories.
Yes.
What is known as like queer slang comes from ballroom.
That's correct. What category would you go for?
I'm not sure.
So you don't really know what you're talking about. You could go in there for fresh-faced ally. I'm really like doubting my skills here, but I think you're straight.
I'm not straight.
I'm really not good at this. I don't know why I have this job.
I have not known the touch of a man since before COVID.
Absolutely.
The biggest privilege white people have is not institutional access. Arguably, the biggest privilege that white people have is not having to be hyper aware of their identity at all times. But keep in mind, I said hyper aware. That doesn't mean that the white man doesn't know he's a white man and the white woman doesn't know she's a white woman. What it means is that they don't choose to or have to compartmentalize their identities constantly for survival or social proof. In the African community, in the black community, we are too aware of our identities as a result of our circumstances under colonialism, imperialism, and racism in this world. We spend most of our lives playing these word games about who's really black, who's light-skinned, who's dark-skinned, who's brown-skinned, who's really African, who's African-American, who's ADOS, who's South African, who's really African, who's East African. We waste our time and our talent playing these identity politics, when the real politics we need to be playing is the politics of material acquisition in international relations. In no way should we deny our experiences under colorism, under texturism, under tribalism. But if we spend our lifetimes, our efforts, our talents, and our energy focused towards these things, then what room do we have? What space do we have to acquire material conditions for our community? The light skins got stories, the brown skins got stories, the dark skins got stories, the African Americans got stories, the Caribbean Africans got stories, the immigrants got stories, the continental Africans got stories, the European Africans got stories. And again, I will never deny any of our experiences. But we tell these stories and we obsess over these stories and we build our identity upon these stories, but we never tell the story of our material conditions. If we're not addressing our stories under imperialism, I think the other stuff can wait. If we're not addressing our stories under the European patriarchy, I think the other stuff can wait. If we're not addressing our stories under colonialism, I think the other stuff can wait. If we're not addressing our stories under the prison industrial complex, under the healthcare system that disproportionately affects our women, I think the other stuff can wait. Which again, going back to the point of my video, is the reason why white people are ahead in this country. Because while they have the privilege to focus on their material conditions, you're worried about, do people like you or not? How beautiful are you to the beauty standard?
Controversial opinion, but these school shootings are a mental health crisis. But not a mental health crisis in a way that you might think. I'm going to invert it so you can see it, but this book, My Grandmother's Hands, does a very beautiful job at explaining exactly what I'm about to say. White people have done a piss poor job at processing the trauma of centuries of violence within their nations of origin, and it has become all of our problem. Literally all of our problem, and that shit is a mental health issue. Centuries of pillaging, colonizing, stealing, aggressively assaulting, that stuff stays and lives within your DNA. And I know we all talk about epigenetics a lot, but that I really have to hammer in, that is in your DNA. The second that you are threatened, which happens a whole lot when any other person who has a marginalized identity gets any type of footing, like that typically is where we see more violence being enacted. These white boys who are committing these atrocities are being taken in through the alt-right pipeline, which is just a fancy way of saying white boys being indoctrinated to further commit like white supremacist colonial violence. That's pretty much it. I don't have to throw a bunch of fancy words at you for you to understand that until white people are capable of addressing the violence that they've experienced at the hand of other white people, white supremacy culture, white violence, and how they've enacted that violence on everybody else, it's not going to be until we're able to do that, they're able to do that, that we'll be able to progress and actually have conversations about the shit that's going on. One of the victims, a 14-year-old black autistic kid, rest in peace to Mason Shimmerhorn, like is a prime example of how black people, black bodies are constantly put in the crosshairs of white supremacy and white violence simply because y'all don't know how to address y'all shit. The reason why I say it's a mental health issue is because the trauma that has been enacted through white violence has lived on and through y'all for centuries. It's time to clean this shit up. We are fucking tired. And these systems and institutions are guilty for keeping us complicit in it too. There's no way on God's green earth an agency like the NRA should be able to fund politicians. You don't think it's sick and fucking twisted that a gun manufacturer can literally influence politics? That doesn't sound wrong to y'all? That's it. That's all I gotta say.
Welcome to Web of Wealth, the online mapping of celebrity businesses and methods of hoarding resource. I'm your host, Joe, and today we're discussing the money monster herself, Lady Gaga. Stefani Joanne Angelina Germata, also known as Lady Gaga, is worth $320 million. With that amount of money, Gaga could cover a monthly car payment for over 400,000 drivers. That's as many people that live in Koreatown, East LA, and Hollywood combined. Maybe she could spread her wealth as much as she spreads airborne illnesses. Gaga, of course, has made the majority of her money from her music. She's made over $80 million in her digital singles. Each of her tours made over $150 million, and she reportedly made $1 million a night during her 74-show Vegas residency. Her endorsements are another portion of her wealth. She's worked with Versace, Tiffany & Co., Google Chrome, Bud Light, Dom Perignon, that weird Nurtec migraine medicine, and even Oreo. Her acting gigs have picked up quite a bit, with roles in A Star is Born and House of Gucci racking up Gaga's wealth. Her role in American Horror Story earned her about $100,000 per episode. For her role in the next Joker movie, she'll be getting paid about $12 million. But beauty and makeup products are where plenty of cash flows nowadays. You see, Lady Gaga is the owner of House Labs, a very well-liked line of makeup products. House Labs is currently worth more than $140 million. A Marxist intermission. Gaga likes to define her family's wealth as upper middle class. And I want to take this time to lay that out in more specific terms, as public-facing folks tend to throw this term out when trying to dissuade their audience from noticing their privilege. Upper middle class typically means being of the top 15 to 20% of earners, or in today's economy, wealth hoarders. Please also note that the French bourgeoisie were originally a middle class of their time, according to Marx, and they served as an intermediary between the peasants and the ruling class. These entrepreneurs and opportunists typically love to highlight their independence and freedom to exploit the working class. It's like I always say, those who dream to be in tomorrow's ruling class are today's class traitors. Back to Gaga. Stefani's family lived in the Upper West Side of Manhattan, and a young Stefani attended the all-girls private school Convent of the Sacred Heart, along with the likes of Paris and Nikki Hilton. What I am describing is not to discount any sort of work ethic or endurance Gaga experienced during her rise to fame. I am simply wanting to be very clear about her financial mobility and starting point in pursuing this career. Like how Gaga was able to withdraw from NYU to pursue her music career, and her father being in a position to cover her New York City rent for a year so that she could do so. See, Gaga's father owned an internet company, one that supported Wi-Fi in hotels, and her mother was, at one point, a vice president at Verizon. Gaga's mother now is actually the co-founder of the Born This Way Foundation, alongside Gaga. And here's the issue you should feel in regards to charities, and specifically celebrity foundations. Any gains they make through these foundations are for how much they raise, meaning collectively accruing outside of themselves, and typically is held up under a lot of bureaucracy, or in other words, obstacles and rigid methods to even access the resources that they are piling up. I find it strange when people say, what could this celebrity do for the people of Congo or Gaza? And they have an entire foundation that raises money for people. In Lady Gaga's case, the Born This Way Foundation has a focus on youth empowerment, which should seem shocking then to hear such silence about the amount of youths who have lost their family members or their very lives for the past 9+ months. A bottle of House Labs concealer is about $32, so instead of handing that over to Stefani, you can give that money to the people and organizations highlighted by Focus Congo and Operation Olive Branch, which have recently expanded to offer support for Congo and Sudan. This is Joe, signing off.
TikTok, I want you to know, you're never gonna beat the racist allegations. Fuck you. Y'all do me a favor and repost this video to hell. TikTok over here trying to stop us from making real progress towards equality. We're gonna try this rant again. This time, no curse words, no N-words. In life, there are 4 scenarios that I always look at the same because they may seem like they don't correlate at all, but they link up very, very well. You just have to see it. The 4 scenarios being one of them folks on the other side of the fence versus a POC or a black person, a straight person versus a queer person, a man versus a woman, and a Christian versus a non-Christian. And 9 times out of 10, one of them folks on the other side of the fence, the man, the Christian, and the straight person are the ones causing the harm. Now, I'm not saying that just because you fit within these identities yourself that you are automatically a part of the problem, okay? So please do not get in my comments being dumb. Thank you. There are 2 main issues as to why these 4 demographics of people are the problem. 1, societal reaction, and 2, intersectionality. Stick with me. Anytime we try to call out the behavior of any of the people who identify with those 4 demographics, there are always a bunch of people ready to defend themselves, even though they're not the ones being put on trial. And they all say the same thing. You just have to peep it. Anytime we try to call out one of them folks on the other side of the fence for being racist and hold them accountable, it will be a group of motherfuckers who share the same identity as them, who feel like they're being put on the spot too. Talking about some, well, not all white people are like that. Anytime you try to call out men for their weird and creepy behavior, there's always a bunch of men talking about some, hey bro, well you know it's not all of us, right? We get a new video almost every week of a Christian being hateful and ignorant. And every time we try to hold them accountable, it's always a group of them talking about some, well, not all of us are like that. Straight people will be homophobic as all get out, but every time we try to call them out for it, it'll be a whole bunch of comments talking about some, why do y'all keep trying to push that LGBT stuff on everybody? Not everybody rock with that gay stuff. The reason why these statements are such a problem is because anytime y'all say this stuff in these instances, we know that you don't care. You're just saying it to cover for yourself and for the people that you feel like you may need to defend. If somebody brings up an issue and your first response is, well, it's not all blank, you're not actually here to fix anything. You don't care. It's blatantly obvious. And 2, the second issue is intersectionality. Now, even though these 4 demographics of people can act independently, they still can overlap. These bubbles can overlap with each other. Caucasian, Christian, straight, man. You combine those, what you get? A straight, white, Christian man. The literal embodiment of the founding fathers. And I don't really like to talk about this specific topic too often because there's always a group of people talking about some, oh, so because I fit into interdemographic here, I'm part of the issue. Baby, you're not part of the problem because you exist. You're part of the problem because as we try to pave the road towards equality, you exist to put speed bumps in the way by asking stupid questions that get us nowhere.
White leftists to call out black people on identity politics.
This is anti-intellectual identity reductionism, but more importantly, this is liberalism. What do y'all want the 0.0000001% of white people who have actually done the reading you black liberals posture about to do? Because for me, knowing better is doing better. Saying that we're waiting for a white savior because we want white people to finally do the work is so disingenuous.
First of all, who are you talking to like that? Who are you talking to with that abrasion?
Y'all talk on here like you can't run up in people and you can't talk face to face, and it gives you a little more gumption. So I'm gonna need that. I'm gonna need us to bring it down because I didn't come like that. You're not gonna come like that at me. First of all, I want white people in general, which includes white leftists. The leftists don't make them not white, to know when to stay the fuck in their lane. Know what the lane is and know when to stay in it, which should be in the readings that we're all doing, right? Right? Because it's not just about whiteness. When I'm talking about identity politics and skin folk not being kinfolk being called out, I'm talking about people being outside of a group, trying to call people out in a group where they don't even experience that oppression. And I find that fucking bonkers. I didn't say it's not something to be called out, right? And if you actually fucking knew me, you would know that I have talked about, even though your little snarky little caption said that OP doesn't even address it herself. Shocker! I have. The larger issue I'm talking about is white people having the audacity to tell black people what they're seeing isn't racism, or how someone said something wasn't racist, or how someone addressed them wasn't racist. That's what the fuck I'm talking about. And if you strictly believe that white people, white leftists specifically, because they read a couple books, can tell black people what you're seeing, there's no racism at all in this context. No, not at all. We are vehemently going to disagree. From the bachelors and the masters and the research and the readings and the organizing and the protesting, I've also learned that I need to shut the fuck up sometimes too. It don't matter how much I fucking know. If a dark-skinned black man got on here talking about something and maybe needed to be corrected on whatever the issue was, and in the correction someone was being colorist and she clocked it, I would never fix my Fenty medium ass to tell her, you're not dealing with colorism. If a trans woman was like, hey, yo, I'm kind of experiencing a little transphobia, or the way that you're going about this is a little transphobic, I would never fix my cisgender ass to say, no, girl, that's not what's happening. The girl is over here talking about texturism in the black community. All right, my job is not to tell the type 4, 4C girlies about texturism. My job is to make sure the 3B brigade back here with me shuts the hell up and make sure they ain't perpetuating texturism in the natural hair community. My positionality has to be included in my praxis. It has to be included in my call out. It has to be included in my call in. And this has been something that I have had to actually learn. It's been some growth. It's been some shit I've seen people do on here. Y'all be thinking that just because you might know something, you are the person to deliver that fucking message. And maybe y'all ain't got popped in the mouth or called out enough. I don't know. But sometimes you are not the person to deliver that message. So if a black person is wrong, if a black person is identifying with identity politics too much to where they're not worried about any other issues, that is wrong. We have said this. And if them and other black people clock that a white person correcting them has a little bit too much dip on their chip and there's a little bit of anti-blackness and gaslighting coming through, we have a right to clock that. So before a white leftist fixes their lips to tell a black person they're not experiencing racism or microaggressions or macroaggressions, or you care too much about black issues over this, they need to make sure that their brethren ain't racist, that their brethren ain't perpetuating micro and macroaggressions, that their brethren is worried about black issues. It's giving paternalism. It's giving manifest destiny. It's giving white savior. It is. That is a pillar of white supremacy. It ain't just white leftists do. White people, white conservatives do that. Why wouldn't it trickle down if that is an aspect of whiteness and white supremacy? Why wouldn't it trickle down to other spaces? Come on, y'all.
I like the white leftist is like the very first voice that I'm going to attach to. By the time I get to the white leftist that is agreeing with me, I already got like 30 other black people where I'm just like, okay, cool. We on the right track.
So to address Haven's video, you know, I can fix my tone now because like there was respect. There's respect here. I hear the points about by the time we get to the white person who's saying these things, there's already 10, 15, 20, 30, 50 black people already saying the same thing. And I agree, which is why I said in another video, I want to hear it from those black people because I know behind a white leftist, there's 50 black people saying the same exact thing. Let these people, let me, let her, let them hear it from them. Because to me, the likelihood of anti-blackness spewing out from them is way lower than the white leftist who has lived their whole life as a white person and being indoctrinated with white privilege and just having spots that they are not going to be able to see when that white privilege is fully on the surface. How you gonna tell somebody that their skin folk ain't being kinfolk when you're not even the skin folk? You don't even know you can't look at politics and social issues through our lens because you don't have the lens. You ain't got the glasses. Your eyesight damn near perfect. And to the point where people sometimes don't listen until a white face says it. So you agree. There is a doubt that black people can successfully call in each other about these issues and that we may need to hear it from a white person. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. White people ain't never liberated black people. White people have never liberated black. How is the group that has oppressed us, right, built the system to oppress us, be the ones to liberate us? Now, I ain't saying black people aren't difficult. You've known the shit I've dealt with on this app from different intersections within the black community. I ain't saying black people aren't difficult. I'm not saying we can't leave some folks behind. I ain't saying that all skin folk are kinfolk, because they not. I'm saying that certain call-ins should be for us, reserved for us. And one of those to me is the discussion on whether or not a black person was experiencing racism. I think a white person needs to stay in their fucking lane, because how would you know? Which is why I'm having the conversation with black folks. Right? This has opened up the door for a lot of non-black people to be talking crazy in the comments. And I'm letting you know I'm not addressing any of you. I'm not, because this is a B&B conversation. Black and black. These are all things I've had to look in with myself, like the examples I gave earlier, and that I've been checked on. And in my questions of Christina, am I so concerned with being right, being knowledgeable, knowing this theory, knowing the facts, versus being able to connect with people and understand them and get them to see what I'm talking about? Or get them to actually agree? Do I always have to be the messenger? Why? What part of my ego is telling me? What part of some of my privileges are telling me I always have to be the messenger? Maybe that's a question that a lot of people need to fucking ask themselves. Maybe I don't need to talk. Maybe I need to shut the fuck up every once in a while. Okay? And a part of me thinks it's the fact that people talk behind a screen. Again, we're not getting popped in the mouth or clocked enough. It's not happening. The screen is emboldening a lot of y'all, like, oh boy, in the beginning. Be real emboldened. That's why he will be blocked after this. But yeah, I will not ever in the near future believe that white leftists have a right to tell black folks what they're experiencing is or isn't racism in the midst of them being called out for stuff, because they can't call them in. And if you believe that, we are simply agreeing to disagree, and it is what it is.
Should I make this a series? Soundtracks that are even better than their movies? Some of you are going to be very surprised about what I say about this soundtrack. Some of you already know. Every single song on this album hit. Every single song on this album hit. It went 7 times platinum. It spawned 2 #1 hits on the Billboard 100, which was Shoop and Let It Flow. 3 top 10 hits. Sitting Up in My Room, Not Gonna Cry, and Count on Me. It won a Grammy for Best R&B Vocal Performance, which was Shoop, and it sold 12 million copies worldwide. I'm not done. It won a total of 11 Grammys. 11. They give Grammys out like candy now, at least that's how I feel, but this was in 1997, including Album of the Year. Let me just tell you who was on this soundtrack. Whitney Houston, twice. Toni Braxton, Aretha Franklin, Brandy, TLC, Mary J. Blige, Shaka Khan, SWV, Shantae Moore, Patti LaBelle, Faith Evans, actually Whitney Houston 3 times, and CeCe Winans. Especially Sonia Marie's And I Gave My Love to You. It's almost like slam poetry, I guess. I'm going to give a highlight to Shantae Moore's Way You. It was very Sade. It was very unexpected. Sitting Up in My Room, a gift. Toni Braxton's Let It Flow, very on brand. Aretha Franklin updated her sound and it worked. Faith Evans, Kissing You, very demure, very petite. Mary J. Blige, Not Gonna Cry, needs a separate slide. If you know, you know. If you know, you know. The lip combo, the matte finish, the gold earrings, the hair color, the eye makeup. This music video was the most stunning, the most beautiful that Mary J. Blige has ever looked. And I know that we overuse the word iconic nowadays, but I'm about to use it correctly. In the Black community, this look, iconic. Putting Shaka Khan on this album singing My Funny Valentine just elevated it. What I love the most about this album is that it is multi-generational. This album is very Black in that way. Old heads can listen to this and did. Young people listen to this and did. This was me and my mom's favorite album to listen to, and I was a kid, and she was like in her late 30s. If you have not listened to this album in a while, or if you've never heard it, do yourself a favor.
My blicky upon the dresser, my blicky up in the trunk, Every real American loves their guns. Their pole, my piece, carrying that heat, strapped up, gat tucked the glizzy in some cities, my blicky. My son and his friends hypothesize on ways to stay alive in case chemistry turns Columbine. What's more American than that? 632 mass shootings this year alone. My blicky in your classroom, or your local tops, or a bowling alley. My son plays with this number in his mouth. 632, my blicky, if it's fourth period. On the second day of the week, and one man with 2 9s and a Mac 11 comes to manifest his destiny in your child's elementary school. How long will it take for the police to enter the building? Protocol says, pray. Protocol says little Johnny gave Jazz permission to use his blood in case she has to play dead. 632 mass shootings, 641 dead. What's more American than bombs bursting in your child's elementary school? Protocol says, one nation under my blicky up in the trunk is license loaded and legal in 40 states. What's safe to my blicky up in your church or your local gas station or community playground if it's 2:30 in the afternoon? And one man unloads 48 rounds into your local ER. How long will it take before you can be seen? Protocol says, pray. Protocol says, my blicky costs less than your copay. 649 mass shootings this year alone. What's more American than the body count? Protocol says, indivisible with liberty and guns for all. My son plays with this number in his mouth. 649, my blicky. If one man with a 3,000-page manifesto can purchase 2 scats and 3 assault rifles 48 hours after his release from a 5150, how long will it take before he can turn your local bar into breaking news? My son and his friends have done the math, are counting the exits and timing the getaway, while Americans are taking shots and getting drunk or standing their ground, round after round, reloaded and dizzy. What's more American than your children and their friends rounding to the nearest tent and carrying over the casualties? What's more American than how casually we govern our guns? Protocol says, sweet land of liberty, where blood floods the street, land where the people die, by bullets we legalize. My blicky, my gat, my scat, your pole, my piece, stay strapped. What's more American than that?
The main reason that Americans do not care about the genocide happening in Palestine is because the media, the news cycle, Hollywood, the US government are pretending like it's not happening. Just like they have been pretending like the illegal occupation of Palestine that has been happening for the last 75 years has not been happening. If they wanted us to care, we would care, because they would be talking about it 24/7. They would be reporting about it 24/7. Meryl Streep would be giving speeches about it at the Oscars, but they're not doing that. And it is fundamentally the main reason why people have reduced a full-blown genocide that is being live streamed to a single voter issue. It is why people are calling the current party that is committing this genocide the lesser of two evils. And I feel that that is incredibly dangerous, because you are giving them permission. You are signaling to them that a genocide is not the worst thing that they can do, because you fear that the other side could do worse. And this is all information. All this information that they are collecting on us is being used against us. Back in November 2023, I made a video where I said liberals and progressives hate Donald Trump more than they hate seeing Black and brown people die. And one of my mutuals, Frederick Joseph, who is an incredible writer, stitched that video. I'll never forget it because I was shocked. He said that post-2020, he came out with his very first book called The Black Friend. And in the book, he detailed his experience navigating America as a young Black man. And the book went on to be a bestseller for weeks and weeks and weeks. This was all during Trump's presidency. When Joe Biden came into office, Costco and major other retailers sent back tens of thousands of copies of his books back to his publisher, saying that now that Joe Biden is president, we feel like the conversation surrounding race will change and that people won't care about race anymore. Do you guys understand how crazy that is? Like, they are projecting how we're going to feel before we feel it, because they've collected that much information on us. They understand us better than we understand ourselves. They understand how to emotionally trigger us. So when I say that if they wanted us to care about something, we would care. And the fact that people have reduced a genocide into feeling nothing for it is actually crazy. It's actually insane to me. And, you know, I don't blame people, because I understand that this is another level of intelligence that we are not even aware of, right? Like, they're using intelligence on us, like artificial intelligence on us, to understand what can emotionally trigger us. And the fact that they're not reporting on a genocide, you have to understand, what is the game being played here? When I made that video, I was talking about how during Trump's presidency, he had the Muslim ban, and liberals and progressives were up in arms and they were protesting. Fast forward to Biden becoming president, and he abruptly pulls out of Afghanistan, which sends the country into a frenzy. We watch people fly off of planes. We saw people handing their children and babies over to US soldiers. I will never forget that for all my days. And do you think that liberals and progressives cared? Do you think that they protested? Not a single protest happened, right? And not only that, Joe Biden freezed Afghanistan's assets, which caused Afghanistan to go into a famine because government officials and teachers and doctors were not getting paid. And not only that, he said that we're going to give half of Afghanistan's assets to 9/11 victims. So essentially, Afghanistan ended up paying for 9/11, even though they had nothing to do with 9/11. None of those 9/11 bombers were from Afghanistan. They were from Saudi Arabia. So I say all of this because I don't feel that people are looking at what's happening objectively. Just a few weeks ago, someone on TikTok made a video about how they work for a nonprofit organization that supports undocumented immigrants, and how during Trump's presidency, they received large sums of donations. Soon as Joe Biden went into office, those donations stopped. Even though Joe Biden has kept many of the same policies that Trump had during his presidency, especially when it came to borders. And I can't help but to feel like, why is it that we're not like holding Democratic leaders to the same standards that we would hold Republicans? Cop City is not happening under Republican leadership. It is happening under Democratic leadership in Atlanta. Yet the outrage is not anywhere to be found. But I can't help but to wonder if Cop City was happening under Republican leadership, would the media and the news cycle and Hollywood and the US government, well, mostly the Democratic Party, be drumming up fear and panic among us? Yet people are not discussing these things. What's happening at the border, with Cop City, with international issues, a genocide. I mean, if this is my last video, because TikTok has been taking down all my videos, I just want this to be the last one where I'm asking for you as an audience to confront even your own feelings, your own values. When you are being triggered, emotionally triggered, can you look at your feelings objectively and be able to ask yourself, is what I am feeling in this moment, is it authentic or is it manufactured?
I don't ever want to hear y'all talk about third spaces ever again. Anika got on here and all she said was, little joke, hey y'all, how come when I go to the grocery store, the cashier don't say hello anymore? How come I can't get somebody to help me find where the cereal aisle is? What's going on? Y'all are bringing out class consciousness rhetoric to get around the fact that you just don't want to say hello. And that's cool that you don't want to say hello, but that's not about class. This isn't even about having a job. Because being able to say hello and help people who are in need isn't about whether you're on the clock or not. It's about being pro-social. Do you have pro-social habits? Can you help somebody cross the street find their way if they're lost, if they're in need, if they're blind, if they need help? You know what I'm saying? I have a whole IG story series where I talked to a stranger today, and this is what we talked about. I'm talking to the Uber driver, I'm talking to the lady in the grocery store, I'm talking to the lady at the library, I'm talking to the guy at the baseball field, I'm talking to the kid in the gym. I'm talking to everybody, because how is it that everybody wants to be a social commentator and a social freedom fighter and you lack social skills? You're an antisocial person. You promote antisocial habits and tendencies in your rhetoric. You're a liberator and you don't believe in saying hello to people? Super weird. I saw somebody stitch a Nika say, how come when I go to the grocery store, no one will say hello to me? Somebody said, you're not a celebrity. I have to be a celebrity to get help at the grocery store? I have to be a celebrity, otherwise I gotta go to self-checkout? Crazy. And it's like, clock in on that, right? I have to have a certain social capital for you to feel like it's worthwhile engaging with me, which makes me feel like when y'all get on here and you talk about there's no third spaces, there's nowhere for people to hang out, there's nowhere for people to go, you actually don't have the social skills to even engage with people who are not already pre-vetted in their social capital or in their, in their belief systems, in their whatever. You don't have the social skills to engage with a wide array of people from various backgrounds that you don't already know to gather in a third space with. That's weird. That's not good. I've talked about the Facebookification of TikTok already on here, but I think that's actually more largely about the boomerification of like younger generations, because y'all took all of this liberatory language and started using it to validate like weird antisocial habits. And that's why, honestly, babe, when y'all was talking about, oh, it's the dating apps, it's the third spaces, it's the this, it's the that, that's why we can't gather and meet the people we want to meet and connect in the ways that we want to connect. No, it's like you need to start inside. If you work at a grocery store, if you work a service job, I've worked many service jobs. I bus tables for many years. I've been a barista many times. I've worked in service years, catering events, all of that. And if you have a job like that, I'm not saying that you have to be somebody's like right-hand man confidant the second they step up to like ask you where the milk aisle is. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying y'all would be surprised how much your world and your life will open up if you just like participate in the casual pleasantries of being social. I'm sorry. I'll die on this hill.
Come and let's play together in the bright sunny weather. Let's all go to Gullah Gullah Island.
I'm happy to be here. I wouldn't be anywhere else. You're the man of the hour. Hey, 30 years of Gullah Gullah Island.
That's right.
That's right.
Oh, let's play together.
Let's do it. Let me get that for you. Gladly. Peace, this is Son Michaud, and I am at the South Carolina State Museum 30th anniversary for Gullah Gullah Island. Get into it.
It ain't possible for properly placing the word with the Diaz family, Ron, Natalie, Sarah, and Simeon, the work that they do, and the legacy for the Gullah Geechee community.
So far, I've seen just about everybody from the Gullah Geechee community up in here, so if you owe anybody money, don't come. Show starts in 5 minutes. See you on the inside.
But this occasion is more than celebrating the past 30 years of Gullah Gullah Island, but also to celebrate a new endeavor, Gullah Gullah Portal.
Where did you girls learn that?
We learned it from school.
Hey, guess what?
What?
Simeon's coming home.
No matter how far you go in life, something always brings you back to where you started.
Come, let's play together.
I always wanted you to remember where you came from. Come on and come on and come, let's go. Come on and come on and come, let's go. Welcome home.
We here with sign. Hey, we out here. We out here.
Compliments to the big one. Hey, I'm giving the review of this chick. This chick is bossing. Yes, indeed.
And this is what the reimagining of Gullah Gullah Island is all about. Bridging the gap between the elders and the churndom, between the past and the future. Here's to the next 30 years and beyond.
We out here.
Come on and come, let's go.
We were just messing around, being that we're at Juilliard, you know, Beethoven, you know. But you know, the blues.
I'll link that video below. It's very, very good. I love jazz music. I love blues music. And I want to talk about the connection between Black disabled people and music careers. I used to play music because it is a part of my family's legacy. So for instance, I'm part of the Barberton family of jazz. My ancestors hailed from the New Orleans area, and my great-great-grandfather started the Paul Barberton's second line. Most of the men in my family played music, including my dad, who also went on to tour with Bob Fosse and the Wiz international tour. I played viola, but never professionally and never really seriously. However, my dad always presented me with music being the one thing that could help me overcome my disability, the one thing that would help people not see my disability and actually create a career for me in a world that would judge me because of my disability. Music was always presented as something that I could achieve without my disability getting in the way if I practiced enough. And because I know how the internet can get, this is no hate to my dad. This is just what he knew. But oftentimes we think of Black history and disability history as two separate histories when they are intricately interwoven. And music is one of the examples in the ways in which it is interwoven. When we think about blind Black musicians, we often think about Stevie Wonder, Ray Charles. But going back even further, you have Art Tatum, blind Tom Wiggins, and blind Lemon Jefferson. Now, while John Baptiste has neurodivergency, he was diagnosed with ADHD, I believe. Being physically disabled or sensorially disabled, like being blind or deaf, particularly in the eras in which those men existed or were born, you didn't have a lot of options. You could be institutionalized, and particularly in the Black institutions were segregated in some cases. You could possibly go to schools for the blind, but they were rare and often segregated as well. You could serve as alligator bait. Many people have theorized that the children, the babies being fed to alligators, were often disabled, particularly Black babies. And your other option was the circus or as entertainment. Because remember, along the times that all these men have existed, ugly laws were in place. Laws that prohibited disabled people from being in public, with the caveat they could serve as entertainment, as part of freak shows, circuses, or musically. There's no doubt that these men are talented. They're very talented musicians. But their talent was a matter of life, death, or isolation. And their only option out in a lot of ways was as entertainment. So when we celebrate Black musicians, with disabilities, it's really important to keep that history in mind. Because Black history and disability history are not separate. Because Black disabled people have always existed.
Baby, what's your ring size?
You talking to me?
Yeah, crazy, what's your ring size?
I've never even thought about that. Honestly, I have no idea.
How don't you know that?
Because no one has ever asked me about that.
So no one you ever dated asked, or?
Nah.
Wow, so what's your dream wedding like? Tell me about your dream wedding.
My dream wedding?
Mm-hmm.
Damn, you know what? If we being honest, like, I just pick, whatever my shorty want, and I just, we just go with that.
Okay, but it's your wedding too, so is it anything that you want at your wedding specifically?
I mean, you put it that way. I mean, you gotta have a flower girl. Gotta be somebody there, like, to marry us. An audience, of course, your family, my family, side by side, either aisle. You can get whichever side, or it doesn't matter. I have no idea.
Okay, so you're with me now, so you might want to start thinking about these things, because whoever the hell you was with, it was not it. Yeah, that bitch was corny, because what are you even talking about? Baby.
Huh?
I need you to be ready at 7 on Friday, okay?
What's Friday?
I'm taking you on a date Friday night at 7, so just be ready. I'll pick you up.
You taking me on a date?
Absolutely. You deserve it, baby.
Nah, it's just... Yes, I ain't gonna lie, that's new for me. That's new for me. You taking me on a date, yo?
Yeah, Bookie.
I can pay. Like, you don't gotta take me. I'm gonna take you, because that's, I'm used to being the person that, pay, and, like, what I'm saying, I drive and all that. So you don't gotta stress yourself out about that. I'll do it.
Absolutely not. I got this, okay? Let me cater to you. You deserve it just as much as I do.
All right, then. Shit. What you want me to wear?
I want you to look good like you always do. Mm-hmm.
Say less. Okay. All right.
Okay, I'm gonna go to the bathroom, babe.
You do that.
Yo, yo.
Hey, you remember that girl I bagged, like, 2 months ago?
Yeah, your little yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's my little yeah. But look. So, she in here asking me, like, my wedding ring size, and how I want my wedding to be and shit.
I ain't never had that shit, bro.
I know.
Oh, that's crazy.
I ain't never had that. I'm trying to see what that be like. Yeah, bro. She told me to be ready by 7 on Friday. I said, okay, shot caller, big baller.
Damn, I'm jealous as shit. I ain't gonna lie, man.
Yeah. Oh, shit, bro. She got me crossing my legs, all type of shit.
My shit crossed too. I ain't gonna lie.
Right?
I need to get one of those, man. Where you got it from?
She even wanted to be the big spoon.
You like that shit? You like that shit, bro?
I don't know if I like it or not. I never had it before.
All right, well, shit, let me know how it is, because I need to know what that be like.
I'm gonna let you know how it is.
Yeah, let me know.
You can live vicariously through me. I got you. Don't worry.
That's my dog. That's my dog. That's my dog. You okay, gorgeous?
You calling me gorgeous?
Yes. I mean, you're gorgeous.
No, I don't know. I'm just not used to it. You're I'm surprised right now. I'm sorry. I'm lost for words. I don't know what to even say. You were talking to me though, right?
Yes. Did anyone ever call you gorgeous before? Or?
I mean, they called me handsome before, but I don't really like that. So they just don't call me anything. They just call me my name.
Handsome? Fuck, they thought you were 50 Cent? Don't worry about it, gorgeous. I got it from here. Don't even worry.
Miss Ella Baker recalled that she was not afraid to question Dr. King and that this irritated him. In general, she disagreed with his approach to the movement. She recalls, I set up the office of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference in 1958, but you didn't see me on television, you didn't see news stories about me. The kind of role that I tried to play was to pick up pieces or put together pieces out of which I hoped organization might come. My theory is strong people don't need strong leaders. Septima Clark echoed this view. I sent a letter to Dr. King asking him not to lead all of the marches himself, but instead to develop leaders who could lead their own marches. Dr. King read that letter before the staff. It just tickled them. They just laughed. If you think that another man should lead, then you were looking down on Dr. King. That was the way it was. The local NAACP would break with Gloria Richardson. Later, King privately questioned her political stance. Gloria Richardson, much like Fannie Lou Hamer, stepped beyond the bounds of her ascribed and gendered position to lead in the movement.
Sexism really is a hell of a drug, because there's no way that you looked at the South at this time and said, yes, people are committing such heinous and brutal, grotesque murders with the hopes that Dr. King will come visit the families. Yes, we receive routine death threats. Yes, his home was bombed. Yes, all sorts of traveling is like a risk and dangerous. Yes, COINTELPRO. Yes, government observation and surveillance. It's all happening. And we still think it's a good idea for this movement to be centralized around one person. And a lot of times, even now, people criticize several movements for not having centralized leadership, which I will say, yes, today it is a lot of lack of organization, but it was well documented to be hell on earth for the one person behind the microphone. But I also want to say it was never one person. And go ask your grandparents, because I guarantee you it was a SNCC, a BPP, and an NAACP right on your street.
A few days ago, someone got on here and told us straight from the pits of hell type of lie that the pro-Palestine movement, both in the United States and globally, is dead. They stated that based on the comments they received on TikTok, black people are stepping away from supporting Palestinian liberation. This harmful, misleading, disgusting lie is about to be debunked. Let's take a look at the actual facts in the real world. Since the end of the election cycle, Palestinian and black liberation organizations have been working more closely than ever before. In Jacksonville, the black-led Jacksonville Community Action Committee, a black-led grassroots group focused on black liberation, joined forces with the Palestinian-led Jacksonville Palestine Solidarity Network, as well as the student-led Students for a Democratic Society, to hold a Unite and Fight Against Trump event. In Chicago, Illinois, the National Alliance Against Racist and Political Oppression, their Chicago chapter, a black liberation organization, partnered with the United States Palestine Community Network twice in this week alone to take the streets demanding justice for Palestine and protesting racist figures like Michael Rappaport. In Minnesota, a Minnesota immigrants' rights group as well as the Minnesota Alliance collaborated with local Palestinian activists to host an event calling for a free Palestine and unity against Trump. Washington, D.C. also saw similar collaborations, with the D.C. Alliance hosting an event in support of Palestine liberation and to unite and fight against Trump. And it's not just those cities either. It's cities like Milwaukee, Detroit, Orlando, Atlanta, Dallas, Los Angeles, the Bay Area, New York City, and then many others have seen black liberation organizations working hand in hand with Palestinian solidarity groups, showing unwavering support for Palestinian liberation and to unite and fight against Trump. The issue here is that this person is basing their analysis on TikTok comments rather than looking at what's actually happening in the real world and listening to black community organizers. They're assuming that black people as a whole, that we've withdrawn our support for Palestinian liberation, but that's simply a lie. Well-meaning liberals like this often make sensational posts and then tell everybody to follow them for more analysis. What analysis? You're basing it on TikTok comments that are lies from random people. And despite this analysis being nothing more than an attempt to sow confusion, I'm happy to debunk it, because the truth is that the bond between the black liberation movement and the Palestinian liberation movement remains strong and unbroken. Those who are actively engaged and on the ground organizing know this. So please, stop drawing conclusions from TikTok comments and TikTok posts, and stop portraying black people as a monolith. It's misguided and frankly racist. And I beg you, please go outside in the community, touch grass, and see for yourself, because
there was a girl that commented on this video and said, all my life I've been being called anorexic by fat people, so I don't really care about being fat phobic. Okay, so I said, you're not even skinny enough for people to be saying that. She was skinny, but if you're seeing this, I was testing you, and you fell for it. Because after you said, I hate the way that you're gonna body shame me after all of this. Body shame. Now that's important. So instead of me appreciating saying you're not skinny enough to be being called anorexic, you saw that as me body shaming you. Why did you see that as me body shaming you? What was the shame? Me saying that you're not skinny to be called anorexic? Okay. And what does that mean? That means that you appreciate being skinny. You appreciate being called anorexic. You value that. You started going off, telling us your weight and your height, saying that, but wait. All I'm doing is saying that people shouldn't be calling you that because you're not skinny enough for that. And that's an insult to you. And what does that mean? It means that no matter what people are saying about your weight, big or skinny, you value being referred to as skinny. So any of those insults, you value. So it doesn't matter their intention. You still value that insult because you are thriving to be skinny. So that throws out any obligation you have to be fat phobic because you've been being bullied. Because I can't see that as bullying because you want to be skinny. So you can't come on here and say I'm okay with being fat phobic because I've been bullied by fat people because they've been saying I was anorexic. When that's obviously what you want to hear. When you got angry when I said that you weren't. You thought it was body shaming when I said you weren't skinny enough to be called anorexic. It wasn't an insult, but you took it as one. Why? Because you value being skinny, and that's okay. But it's not okay to come on here and be fat phobic and excuse it with the saying, oh, I've been bullied by fat people all my life. That's not bullying. Subconsciously, you like being referred to as skinny. You like being told you look anorexic. That's a compliment to you. Their intention doesn't match your interpretation, and your actions should be based on your interpretation of what people are saying and not their intention. So there is no excuse for you to be fat phobic. That's all I'm saying. And everybody should just be nice to each other, you know? Fat, big, skinny, tall. We're all just people. We all gonna die.
It's like cancel this person, cancel that person. What happened to just being quiet after the fact?
I went to Oberlin. You don't have to tell me that.
Hi, I'm Ananiah. This is Gaydar. Today we're gonna find out if you're straight, gay, or a homophobe. What's your name and what are your pronouns?
I'm Siobhan. Pronouns-wise, like the girl ones.
Oh, okay. What should not be allowed at Pride?
Like really old people.
Heart attacks, strokes, very common at Pride.
I don't think the police belong at Pride. Like on a serious note.
No police at Pride. I'm kind of done with gay men in jockstraps at Pride. Ooh.
I'm okay with that, usually.
Oh, a police officer in a jockstrap coming to you soon. Name something gay men and lesbians have in common.
Tracy Chapman.
Absolutely! One more.
Sade.
Sade.
Dolly Parton.
Boots.
Dusty
Yep.
Springfield.
Beyonce. Charlie XCX. Chappell Brown. Kamala's stepdaughter, Ella, is she queer?
No.
Well,
No, she just knits.
I think if you're in the fiber arts, we do need to admit a couple of things about ourselves. You don't know a person who knits who isn't queer.
My grandmother.
She isn't queer? That you know of. Which country just granted spousal benefits to the same-sex couples?
Is it like Western Hemisphere, Eastern Hemisphere?
Eastern Hemisphere.
Myanmar. I really don't know, girl. The song from Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. Where he goes, Myanmar. Caviar. Find out who your true friends are.
It's South Korea. Can you name a black lesbian couple?
Can I?
Gotcha.
Well, I'm thinking about Whitney Houston.
They famously did not end up together. How many LGBTQ seniors are living in America?
Seniors?
Seniors, like these older people you don't want at Pride.
I'm having a really hard time with it. Like a number, okay.
Yeah, we're looking for a number. You know what? I don't think you're good at math, and I think that's telling me something. 2.4 million queer seniors living in America right now.
Lousy with them.
I'm going to say you are. I'm just having a good time. I don't know. I don't care. I want you to tell us.
I'm a doll.
Well done.
I'm a straight transgender woman.
You're a dying breed. White, blonde, and straight. We don't have enough of those out there.
Videos like this anymore, but I am genuinely so confused. I'm so confused how everybody's in agreement that the cultural appropriation surrounding boba tea is wrong. But with black culture, it's okay. I have not seen one person in this incident say that it's okay because
I've been getting torn up for a video I made back in March. If you don't know the video, this is the video. To all of the people that are telling this white woman to come on TikTok wearing Nara Smith braids, and if you don't know what Nara Smith braids are, they are box braids that this white woman saw Nara Smith wearing, so she called them Nara Smith braids. And I had a long list of hateful comments and personal DMs to pick from, but I choose you. My favorite part about this comment is the end where it starts with white, black, red, yellow, brown, everybody of all colors is done with this bullshit. We're literally talking about boba being gentrified. We literally spoke about saris being gentrified about 2 months ago. We spoke about Hispanic culture being gentrified 2 months ago. We are constantly having these conversations within those demographics that I'm assuming you are trying to pinpoint with the colors that you chose, which is also not necessarily the best way to point out the demographics you're talking about. And what's funny is when it comes to black culture, but specifically African American culture, it seems to be a problem for people to acknowledge that there's an erasure of culture happening. Because while everybody's agreeing that the boba thing was messed up, because it was, nobody's asking, well, do you have a patent for boba? Do you have a trademark or a copyright for boba? We didn't ask these questions. We just said, hey, that's not right, and boba has cultural beginnings that should be acknowledged when trying to open up a factory with boba. But when I say, hey, let's not rename culturally specific phenomenons, items, or things, whatever we want, because they already have names within those cultures, it's grow the fuck up. And while people have tagged me mercilessly in the videos of the two people who stitched my video all the way from March a couple of days ago, telling me that I should listen to them, I could never listen to a black man who starts his conversation about black women with, let's talk to the EBT community. And it would only take a black man who disrespects and disregards black women and everything that they care about to diminish and minimize the actual statement that I was making in my video. Which my favorite thing is that it leads to comments like this. Not this one, but this one. Black women with no identity, because that's what it leads to. I ironically, on a video of me talking about respecting cultural linguistics, respecting the cultural names for certain things, because then we have cultural erasure, this woman, like, just... I'm sorry, it's not funny at all. Laughing is a coping mechanism, but the most important thing about her comment specifically is that I know she said that because she presumes that I was African American. If you look in the video, most of these people assume that I am African American, and because they assume that, not only do they dibble dabble at my features, my hair color, the fact that the braids were a hair extension that I put in my hair, but they also want to add to the fact that I have no culture, because to them, African Americans have no culture, on a video of me talking about respecting Black culture, which really, this box braid thing was heavily popularized by African Americans, making it part of their culture. Okay, bye.
On Monday, Congress is going to vote on a bill that would give Trump the authority to go after nonprofits he does not like. Now, if you follow me, you might be wondering, Sophia, you made a video about this earlier this week. It failed. Why am I hearing about this again? Those fuckers in Washington hate us. I don't know what to tell you. This week, because they rushed a vote, they needed a supermajority for it to pass. Next week, when they vote on it, they will not need a supermajority to pass. And trust, they have the votes for this to pass. 52 Democrats voted in favor of this bill last week. 52. For context, this is H.R. 9495. It is a bill that would allow the Treasury Department to take away 501c3 nonprofits from organizations that they deem are T-word supporting. Two important details, though. Firstly, that's already illegal. All this bill would do is get rid of bureaucratic red tape, i.e. due process. Secondly, and very importantly, legal analysts have noted that the language in the bill is so vague and broad that it could very easily be used by the executive to just go after whatever nonprofit you don't like. There was a letter that was sent to Congress by over 130 civil society groups, and it was like the NAACP, Planned Parenthood, Greenpeace, like immigrants' rights group, like organizations that have legitimately nothing to do with Palestine, but know that this bill is going to go against everyone. I said it earlier this week, and I will say it again. Anyone who votes in favor of this bill is not taking the threats of a Trump presidency seriously. Call and email your member of Congress, especially if it's one of these ones, and tell them that. I do believe that Biden will sign this into law if it gets enough bipartisan support, so that 52 needs to become 0 real quick. Every single person should be emailing their representative, but especially if you're in one of those districts, I'm begging you.
If you're wondering why they want to defund the Department of Education, or you're wondering why the South continues to vote the way it does despite low rankings in education, I have a story. So I went to the store the other day because my family needed Christmas tree lights and Christmas tree hooks because we have 23 Christmas trees to put up. That's not important to the story, I just wanted to share. So I'm running through the store, I grab my Christmas tree lights, I grab some scented pine cones, I'm looking for ornament hooks, I can't find them. So I turn to the first person that looks like they work there, which is this older white guy in a camo vest, and he comes walking up to me, and off rip, I know he voted for Trump. So I ask him where ornament hooks are. He, sweet as can be, mind you, doesn't know. He looks it up on his phone, takes forever to type, can't find it, does some scrolling. It says RW. He's trying to guide me around the store so we can find them. I'm hoping he looks at his phone for maybe some context clues as to the answer to this question. Finally, we find a guy wearing a mask, and he goes, I'm going to ask this much smarter gentleman what he thinks. The quote-unquote much smarter gentleman points us in the right direction. I scoop up the hooks, tell the man about my 23 Christmas trees and my 3-month-old baby. He says, God bless you and your baby. I'm like, thank you so much, and I scamper on. And what really hit home for me in that exchange is that well-intentioned or not, generally speaking, kind or not, that man couldn't explain to me what a tariff is. He couldn't tell me the medical necessities for an abortion, much less how they take place or what they have to do. He couldn't tell me about foreign policy anywhere, much less any of the multitudes of things taking place in the Middle East right now. He will look to whoever he can perceive as smarter than him to tell him what to do. And at his job, it's the man in the mask, but in his personal life, it's the man in the red hat just feeding him information. I think that organically, that man would not have anything against me. He was perfectly nice. But when you don't know stuff, it is incredibly easy to fall for anything. And they know that. And so they want to take away your access to education and your access to knowledge so that they can take advantage of that.
Real quick, if you love your pets, you would believe in police reform. I seen a tweet that said, immigrants aren't killing y'all pets, the police are. Every year, it's 9,000 to 12,000 pets get slaughtered by the police, 10,000 of those being dogs. Everyone is perfectly fine with sacrificing baby scoot to the altar of police supremacy. But now all of a sudden, it's oh my God, the Haitians are eating dogs! No, they're not. That's racism. But even if they were, who cares? We have bigger fish to fry. Y'all are eating human. Every single year, there's a new batch of Caucasian cannibals running around middle America. Did y'all hear about the guy in Idaho running around eating the brains of the elderly because he thinks has healing properties? What about the guy in Vegas? Exactly, bingo. Like the IQ of the average racist person has dropped to such an insanely low level that the politicians themselves aren't even that racist no more. It used to be passion, pain, bro, like tiki torches and flames behind them eyes, bro. Now it's just like super beady eyes and bad hairlines, every single one of them, right? And they're pretty much just playing one big game of like racist Cards Against Humanities. Like, when did we start repurposing racism? Eating pets, excuse me, y'all already used that card on another racial group in 2020. This is just getting lazy. And you know who the real victims are? CIA agents. I know mine is watching this video right now with tears streaming down his cheeks, because back in the good old days, the U.S. government, the only time the U.S. government has ever bombed its own city is to destroy an underserved black community. COINTELPRO, y'all used to assassinate civil rights leaders and destabilize the entirety of Southern America. Now, you're slaves to like the balloon pop industrial complex. You coming home, they're like, Rogers, get on the computer and just tweeting. Do men even pay for dates anymore? Black and brown people are their own biggest enemy. Oh my God, free the guys.
So I'm in need of your assistance. As some of you know, I lost my job about a year ago. I have gone through my unemployment. I have gone through my 401k, and I have gone through my cash reserves, which means I'm looking at an eviction come December. I know it's not fun. So what I need from you is to buy tickets to my lectures. I've got 4 this week. 2 of them are the same. On Monday and Wednesday, it is Why Did Vice President Kamala Harris Lose the Election? We go step by step as to why she lost not just the electoral, but the popular vote as well. Y'all know Democrats don't lose the popular election. We just don't do that. I don't know why I said we. I'm an independent, but you know what I'm talking about. On Tuesday, it's the Red Summer of 1919, when white mobs attacked black communities. We'll be discussing Chicago. On Thursday, it's intersectionality, which plays into why Vice President Kamala Harris lost the election. So again, Monday, why did Vice President Harris lose the election? Tuesday, Red Summer of 1919. Wednesday, a repeat session of why did Vice President Harris lose the election? Thursday, intersectionality. Every night but Tuesday is at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. Tuesday is at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. All tickets are available and on sale through my link tree. It's in my bio. Go ahead and click on that link. It'll take you straight to the tickets, and they are available for purchase. If you click on my link tree, the other thing you will notice is that the blankets that you see me making while we have our discussions are also for sale. Now, you can make 4 payments. Yes, you can make 4 payments. You don't have to pay the full price at the time of purchase. That's exciting. It was exciting for me anyways. So please keep that in mind if you're somebody who wanted to purchase a blanket. Now, not all of the blankets are up yet. All of them should be up by the end of the week. So again, I'm in need of your assistance. I'm trying not to get evicted. It's a lot. It's a lot. But I think with your help, we can prevent that. If you could buy some tickets to my lectures and we can have a lively discussion. If you can buy my blankets, again, 4 payments. You do not have to pay the full price at the time of purchase. 4 payments can be made. And then, of course, as always, straight cash donations are also greatly appreciated as well. Whatever you can give. Now, anything that you need to know, anything that you are looking for can be found on my link tree link that's in my bio. Go ahead and click on that. It'll take you to the tickets. It'll take you to my blankets. It'll take you to my Cash App, my Venmo, and my PayPal. When I was saying that I was just trying to make rent, I wasn't kidding. I was not kidding. I'm just trying to make rent and not get evicted. So I want to thank you in advance for your assistance. And as always, thank you for your support.
What if I told you that this is one of the most exciting albums I've heard all year? Let's talk about it.
They call me OD, cause I got ADHD.
Now, I first discovered Layla when her song Like That popped on my feed last year, and I thought, okay, this is fun, this is catchy in a good way, but it wasn't until I heard her EP In Control earlier this year that it clicked for me. You see, after listening to this, it became clear to me that Layla wasn't just another viral sensation. There was definitely something deeper brewing with her sound and her artistry.
That's just what you do.
What really stands out when I listen to Layla's music is her ability to tap into nostalgia. We're living in an era where the nostalgia craze is dominating pop culture, and Gap Year really embodies this movement in a way that feels so genuine and fresh. I'm telling you, listening to this project literally feels like the 2020s equivalent of Brandy dropping her debut album. There's just something about Layla's vocals and her tone, especially her runs and harmonies, that just sounds so retro, like a love letter to 90s and early 2000s R&B. When I listen to this album, I hear echoes of acts like Cut Close, I hear traces of Faith Evans,
Your love is wonderful. Yeah.
I hear Brandy, SWV, Aaliyah, especially in her understanding of melody and the way she layers her vocals. Even the little details, like the use of the vocoder on some songs on the album, is a direct nod to that retro feel.
'Cause maybe I'm broken from all that you've done.
But I also hear modern acts like Brent Faiyaz, and that's my favorite thing about this album, the fact that it's able to pull from the past without sounding dated. Also, can I just say, opening your debut album with a fully acoustic track is a bold move that I respect. That's honestly the kind of confidence that you'd expect from an artist years into their career, but Layla pulls it off with ease. The production throughout the album has this bedroom lo-fi quality to it that just works beautifully. There's this dreamy and spacious texture to the drums that I am absolutely obsessed with. And Layla's voice has this intimate feel, like she's right there in the room with you. And I love that this theme is consistent with the use of voice memos as little interludes throughout the entire project. It just gives it all a very authentic feel. Now, I've seen a lot of people draw comparisons between her production and early Tyler, the Creator. And after listening to this album closely, I get it. There's that same experimental edge in the way they both build their songs, but the thing is, this entire project is self-written and produced, and Layla is only 18. 18 years old, guys. That's a crazy amount of skill to have at that age. Everything about Gap Year feels carefully crafted but not overthought, and that's a very fine line to walk. It's very clear that Layla knows exactly who she is and what she wanted to say with this project. And honestly, if she keeps honing her craft, I have zero doubt that she'll become a defining artist of her generation.
The situation in Sudan right now is incomprehensible. It is progressing so fast and so many people are dying. Yesterday, in El Jazeera State, in a village called As-Siriha, where most of the people are farmers who mind their own business, the UAE-funded RSF interred and massacred over 600 people. Over 600 people. I know it's hard to visualize large numbers like this, but this is what 500 people looks like. Now imagine 100 more added onto that, all in one day, in the span of a couple hours. On top of the people that they massacred, there has been over 134 women who have committed suicide due to the fact that they are witnessing such brutality and due to the fear that they think that they might experience sexual assault. On the topic of sexual assault, during this invasion by the RSF, over 29 confirmed rape cases, with the youngest being 6 years old. 6 years old! On top of the RSF massacring and showing no mercy to anyone, including a family of 3 generations, the grandparents, their children, and those children's children, the grandchildren, they are committing a systematic sexual assault and rape program where women rather kill themselves than have to experience it. This is a genocide. This is ethnic cleansing. This is not just a civil war. We need to really comprehend the fact that this is not just a civil war. This is a war on civilians funded by the UAE for Sudanese gold and resources. According to sources on the ground, they've completely wiped out El Sirieha. Completely wiped out. There is no one there. It is a ghost town. El Sirieha is like my third home in Sudan. I used to go there quite often. Most of my dad's side of the family lives there. We called my cousin yesterday and she picked up the phone just sobbing. We couldn't get anything out of her. She was just sobbing. I don't even know the horror she experienced. I don't even know the horror my family experienced because it's so bad. Telecommunication blackouts also make it so much harder to contact the people who are living in active war zones like this. This is a genocide. This is an ethnic cleansing. Let me repeat. This is a genocide. This is an ethnic cleansing. This is not just a civil war. The UAE must be held accountable for its crimes. The RSF must be held accountable for its crimes. They must be held accountable. And this is one of the most deadliest massacres since April 2023, and Western media is not saying anything about it. Are 600 Sudanese lives really that insignificant that there's not one headlining piece of news that, this Janjaweed militia went into this village filled with farmers who literally mind their own business, who are literally living in poverty for most of them. All they do is farm and mind their own business. Some of the nicest people ever. 600 people of them died and no one cares. How much longer are we going to continue to fail the Sudanese people? How much longer? Because it's getting too much. It's getting way too much.
I'm so sorry. This is probably going to be a very long video, but I got to get it out. I need y'all to watch something with me real quick.
Getting its hostages back, fundamental, and ending the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. But the expansion of Israel and its proxies is an absolute fundamental necessity for the United States to have to...
Expansion. It never clicked to me that he said expansion, not the protection of or the right to defend themselves. Full mask off expansion. We're cooked. I'll see y'all during the draft. Harris and Walls make me so sick. The incompetence is rivaling that of Hillary fucking Clinton. I think they're gonna lose, or at least win, by the slimmest margin in the world. And you know what? Before I even get into it, if she does manage to lose, I don't want to hear nothing. Not no third party, not no Claudia, Cornell, not no Jill Stein, not no Butch Ware, uncommitted. Since none of those groups or people were relevant enough to listen to or vote for, they can't also be so powerful that they lost you the election. If her dumbass loses, you have no one to blame but her. I can hear y'all now. This country isn't ready for a woman president. What if I threw acid in your face? Joe Biden endorsed her with a little Twitter post, and then the next day she woke up with like $100 million in donations. Mind you, an AIPAC-funded politician woke up to $100 million as if she needed your damn donation. Can't nobody reach their crowdfunding goals, mutual aid dwindling. I thought everybody was broke, but old girl coughed and everybody's purse fly open. She started with all that and still managed to drop this much in the polls. And you wanna know why? Climate policy nowhere to be found. Her and Tim Walz still on Israel's tit. Anytime you ask her what she plans to do as president, she can't say anything without just mentioning how Trump's gonna be worse or some shit. And then when you finally do get policy out of her, it's, oh, I wanna be a Republican so bad. I love guns. I love killing the environment with fracking. I'll put a Republican in my cabinet. And I also wanna ask you bitches when you've ever known a Republican to do that. But I guess we just ignore the Overton window, which fine. I got police on stage at the DNC, democracy this, democracy that, but we suing third-party candidates off ballots. Muting and suppressing Marcellus Williams' name because I guess freeing an innocent black man just isn't a vibe you're going for. And bragging that you got an endorsement from the hot fart that came out of Satan's asshole known to humankind as Dick fucking Cheney. The Republicans y'all claim to hate so much, the ones y'all say are so dangerous, you clap when she starts collabing with them. It's because the real truth is, liberals and conservatives were never that different, but I digress. Let's take it back to the climate stuff. And I'm sorry if anyone thinks this isn't very helpful. I don't either. That's why I try not to talk politics as much on my page anymore, even though it definitely bleeds in through my content anyway. It's just, unless I'm being funny about it, everything that I actually want to say is just very fucking nihilistic. Like, when it comes to climate change, there are parts of this country, because I'm not even going to get into the world, that just aren't habitable anymore. Like, there's no reason to build there, to rebuild there. You know how we have Tornado Valley, and then we also have the areas that deal the most with hurricanes? Those regions typically have the infrastructure to deal with that stuff. But with the rise, and not just frequency, but strength of these storms, these areas are no longer strong enough to withstand what's here, not coming, here. Let's just look at the 3 hurricanes we've gotten this season so far. Hurricane Beryl, broken record for earliest Category 5 hurricane in a year in history. Not even classed as being part of the hurricane season. But hey, in a few years, we'll see that season drift drastically. Beryl hits Houston, knocks out without power for like a week, devastating most of the city. The infrastructure in Texas isn't built for that. Yes, even after the freezes. Property damage that no one talks about, the amount of food that was lost, I'm surprised it didn't make the news. Everyone's power's out. Everyone's refrigerators not refrigerating food. And then we have Helene. Do I even need to talk this one up? There's gonna be documentaries hitting areas a hurricane has never hit before, setting records for going further inland than any other storm in modern history. The government and mainstream news cover-ups alone will be studied. These people are still cut off from the world, and it only ever gets talked about on this app. This is worse than Katrina, and these people aren't even in Hurricane Valley, if that's even what you call it. But they are now. These people couldn't afford for this kind of thing to happen to them, let alone if it happens again. Because outside of what could still happen this season, what about next year? Or the year after that? Or the 10 years after that? It's just gonna get worse and more frequent. If you're someone who wants to build a life somewhere, it can't be in these places anymore. We have to migrate away from them. We should have listened to all the climate activists. And now, these people gotta pay the price for it. Then we have Milton, just days after Helene breaks its own record for fastest power up, going from a category 1 to 5 in less than 24 hours. Thank God the storm wasn't as bad as it could have been, because it did weaken a little bit before hitting Florida too hard. But what if it hadn't? Liberals probably just would have been screaming at people to evacuate again somehow, even though they just exhausted all of their savings, evacuating like a week ago. And now they're back, trying to pick their lives back up. And now they have to leave again. Not just an area, the whole state. And I know Florida is used to these kind of storms. They're used to having to evacuate every once in a while. But can y'all do this kind of thing every year? This like state evacuation shit every year, multiple times a season. Can anyone really afford to do that? And even if they say the storm isn't going to be that powerful, can you even believe it now with what Milton just did? Is it worth the coin toss to see, oh, will the storm flood my front yard or take everything from me? I'm telling you, in 20 years, people are not gonna live in these places like they do now. I didn't talk about fires. I didn't talk about drought. I didn't talk about freezes. I didn't talk about flu season, because Rona is gonna continue to be a problem, even then, a major problem. I didn't talk about none of that. And she's not running on any climate policy. None. You not finna have no grandkids. Stop imagining that. Cut. When we deal with fires, floods, storms, and freezes, they're not gonna help us. With what money? It all goes to Israel. And if you really want to talk about climate, let's talk about what the consequences of all that bombing that Israel's doing is gonna lead to. Because let's really wake it up. I'm not sure we have a future. And that's just long term. Let's talk about Israel's effects on everyone in the short term. Y'all think I'm ever playing about that draft? World War III is going to happen regardless of whichever one of them wins. The only difference is that Trump will be a little more immediate, and Harris would have to take the time to convince everybody that imperialism in kidnapping your 20-something-year-old sons and shipping them off to the Middle East is actually pro-black as hell and a girl boss slave queen when you think about it. Because greater Israel was always the end goal, and obviously the other countries aren't just going to let that happen. The U.S., as you saw from Mr. Walls, is bipartisanly dedicated to the expansion. No one's joining the military anymore, and money can do a lot, but it can't fight. So who's supposed to help them out? Yep, that's right. You, Negro man in the back with the muscles and the youth. Yep, go ahead and say goodbye to your family and friends. Say goodbye to your parents and siblings. You get shipped off Monday. Because with all these cop cities, because I forgot to mention how much Harris loves those, it's either the boat or the cell. I wonder if that reminds y'all of anything. But we won't get into that. And you can say I'm dooming or fear-mongering, even though it's the truth. You can say this video is irresponsible. It probably is. That's why I try not to talk about this stuff directly as much anymore. But the truth is the truth. And you know what? Just to add something to the end of this video, because it's already long, might as well make it longer. Madeline Pendleton. And I know this kind of blew over already. I don't mean to bring up old shit, but again, I'm just getting it all out before I do just fun shit. I will say this. I hope she is okay. I hope she is thriving, and I hope none of that shit bothered her that much, because I'ma hold your hand when I say this. Saying that people are being paid to say things and they aren't disclosing it isn't anti-black. Saying that it's a common misconception that Angela Davis was a Black Panther when she wasn't, because yeah, she wasn't, isn't anti-black. Mispronouncing Kamala and saying Kamala instead of Kamala a grand total of 1 time without any weird microaggressions tacked on, and that was it, that was all, isn't anti-black. What's happening is you're very insecure about your vote for her, and you're feeling very morally inferior. I know that's a phrase that y'all like to toss around, even though no one said that, because genocide isn't a deal breaker for you the way it is for a lot of others. And so in order to soothe your insecurities about your morals, you're doing what's called grasping at straws to try and make anything stick, trying to make it seem like it's everyone else's fault and not yours. The whole world is against you and you couldn't possibly do any wrong. Liberals are trying to do to anti-blackness what Zionists are doing to anti-Semitism. In conclusion, they call it late-stage capitalism for a reason, because it is nearing its end and will be replaced by something. Either fascism, i.e. Trump, just by existing, I'm glad we're all on the same page about that, or even Harris, yes, with her extreme funding of cop cities, ignoring climate catastrophes to please donors, most extreme military. It's just a matter of time before all that imperialism turns inward. Do you know you have 30 minutes? It'll get replaced with either fascism, which is what they're gearing up to do, or socialism, okay? I guess maybe anarchy, if y'all allow this bitch to collapse. I never cared who anybody voted for. Vote for who you want. My thing is just about what comes after the election, right? And liberals, the ball is sadly in your court, and we all know which way y'all tend to lean in dire times, which is why I say, enjoy yourselves while you can. Anyway, this concludes the diaries of an anxious autistic idiot, okay? I'm not gonna browbeat y'all no more. Fun videos until the election. I deserve a few weeks of peace.
Let's try this again because 80 people scrolled past my last video, and this is very important. I have his name now. Tyron McAlpin is a black, deaf man with cerebral palsy who was violently assaulted by the Phoenix Police Department because a white man was outside of somebody's establishment or home or something loitering. That person called the police on the white man. The police show up and the white man says, "This man assaults me, he stole my phone." Da-da-da-da. And the police proceed to brutally beat Tyron, who pretty much has no clue what's going on. Or, I mean, at some point he does, right? And what I said in my last video that got ignored by 80 people is that we have to start centering disabled people when we talk about black liberation, because they are the people who are inevitably going to be the most affected by anti-blackness in a lot of ways. He literally never stood a chance, and now they're pressing charges against him for, what is it? Is it resisting arrest? I can't see what it is right here where I'm looking at, but he shouldn't have no charges. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I need you all to step the fuck up. A lot of people get on here and they claim to be leftist and socialist and Marxist and communist and all this other bullshit, but all y'all ever do is spit theory about me and respond to TikTok drama. Get the fuck up. Please talk about Tyron. Please.
Crunchyroll, what the fuck are you doing? So, according to David Wald on Twitter, you may know him as Adam from Skate the Infinity, Gajiel from Fairy Tail, The Works. Crunchyroll has been opening his private fan mail for the past 5 years, discarding the letters and distributing the little gifts that he would get among the staff.
And if you need another reason to be anti-Crunchyroll, know that they're anti-union. Know that they do not pay their voice actors. Crunchyroll is a good idea in theory because it localizes and brings anime to the West, which in theory allows for there to be bigger budget productions for anime. And it in theory also helps pay mangaka and authors of the anime. But personally, I'm not going to support Crunchyroll until they pay everyone. Because first and foremost, Crunchyroll needs anime. Anime does not need Crunchyroll. Does Crunchyroll get the anime industry as a whole more money? Yes. Will they survive without it? Also yes. Japan doesn't really care about the West when it comes to anime. They throw us a bone because they benefit from it, but they only do so when it's convenient to them. In fact, the anime industry as a whole can create their own Western localization service where they don't have to go through a essentially Western organization like Crunchyroll. Their treatment of voice actors is disgusting. There's no reason why voice actors should be being paid $150 for an entire job. That is equivalent to slave labor. I get paid more for making TikToks. This is why I pirate. This is why I boycott. Because if I am going to spend my money, it's going to be directly towards the anime industry, as direct as it can be. I'm not going to go through a third party who's just going to treat other employees poorly. Because all Crunchyroll does is monopolize anime in the West in order for them to be the major competitor of who gives the West anime. And there are a few other competitors like Sony's Aniplex. Funimation is probably owned by another Western corp or a corp that has heavy activity in the West. You have Netflix and Hulu who are starting to put more anime into their streaming service. But in my opinion, as long as these streaming services are buying exclusive licenses to essentially own an anime for a certain number of years, monopolize said anime as in addition to all the other popular animes, and try to be the only monopoly on anime in the West while also not paying their workers, they're not something I'm interested in supporting. And it's unfortunate that so many new anime fans always think, oh, we have to go to Crunchyroll. No, you don't. As long as they're anti-paying their workers, anti-union, and anti-spreading the motherfucking wealth because God knows they get a shit ton of money from simply existing, you can miss me with that bullshit.
Black Americans are about 13 to 14% of the population.
Yes,
about half of all prisoners are black.
Exactly.
So blacks commit more crimes than whites do. They commit more murders, they commit more arsons, they commit more kidnappings. For example, blacks are 13% of the population and they commit 58% of all the murders.
Okay. Let's talk about it. These are obviously racist claims, but I will respond to them as if Charlie Kirk were a reasonable person.
Black Americans are about 13 to 14% of the population.
Yes,
about half of all prisoners are black.
Wrong. Just 38% of America's prison population is black. That's according to the US government. But it makes you wonder why Charlie feels the need to add an additional 12% to the black prison population. Could it be because his bigoted talking points only work if he exaggerates them? If Charlie were actually looking for the race that makes up half the prison population in the US, he'd look no further than white people at 57%.
Exactly.
So blacks commit more crimes than whites do.
Wrong. The word "so" is doing a lot of heavy lifting in that sentence.
So blacks commit more crimes.
He's saying "so" as in therefore, as in one could conclude, but Charlie knows he's lying. Even if he hadn't just lied about the black prison population, Charlie is smart enough to know that correlation does not equal causation, but he's hoping that you don't know that. So he deploys the word "so" to make you think he's coming to an obvious conclusion.
Exactly. So blacks
Instead, he's making an illogical racist leap. Charlie knows that we don't have usable data about who commits crimes. It's impossible to have that data since so many crimes go both unreported and or unsolved. Charlie knows that we only have data about arrests and convictions. I'll come back to that data in a moment. What's painfully obvious is that Charlie Kirk isn't interested in understanding the statistics he so carelessly misquotes. He's interested in making bad faith arguments, something that becomes even more obvious in his next point.
Blacks are 13% of the population and they commit 58% of all the murders.
Wrong again, and loud this time. If Charlie were interested in honesty, he would have mentioned the other 1350 statistic. Yes, black people are about 13% of the population, but make up 53% of all criminal exonerations. In fact, black people make up 55% of all murder exonerations specifically. Black people are more likely than any other group in this country to be convicted of crimes they did not commit. And then people like you have the nerve to parade these stats around as though they prove something. The reality is that you probably know these stats, but you leave them out on purpose, because to bring that stat into this conversation would make some people think. And that's the last thing a person like you wants.
See what happens when we stop and listen? We learn. We learn not only about people's deep-rooted fat phobia, but we also learn how many people truly care that brands are as size inclusive as they claim themselves to be. I want us to continue to listen. And today I want us to listen to Griselle, the founder and CEO of Rebdolls, as she talks about an experience she had with a potential investor.
They said to me that a lot of brands don't want to expand past the size 20 because their straight size customers feel alienated and no longer feel like the brand is cool because now it is associated with larger bodies. That's a multi-million-dollar investor. Do what you must with that information.
This is exactly why it can't just be plus-size shoppers speaking up about size inclusivity. So let's talk homework. And you have options that are online or offline. Starting with online, donate to Rebdolls Kickstarter to offset the inequity of investors. Now, if you don't have the means to donate, please comment on or repost Griselle's videos to boost. Option 2, make a video directed toward a brand that needs to expand their sizing, especially if they already claim to be inclusive. 3, leave a comment, send a DM, or send an email to a brand that needs to expand their sizing. And for our offline options, the next time you find yourself shopping in store, ask, Where are the plus sizes? The more the demand, the less investors can argue that the inclusion of plus size customers deters straight size customers. And option 2, talk to a family member or friend about the difficulties of the plus size shopping experience. Because some people just don't know how hard it is. Now, please report back to class with your assignment in the next 48 hours. We'll be waiting.
In this essay, I'm going to explain that your pop diva is a hag. My name is Ananiah. This is Gaydar. Today I'm going to find out if you're straight, gay, or homophobic. What is your name and what are your preferred pronouns?
My name's Amelia. My pronouns are she, her.
Yay! Ooh. I have pronouns too. Who is your favorite gay character on TV?
I love Dakota Johnson in that new movie, Am I Okay?
Is Dakota Johnson gay?
Her character was.
Okay, right.
Late life lesbian.
Late life lesbians played by straight actors always equals a good time with me. Name a woman's basketball player.
That girl, Caitlin.
Okay, not her.
Rebecca Black.
Oh, is that true?
She might play ball.
Rebecca Black, we would love you to come on the show, especially if you have a break from playing basketball professionally. Which of these members of the Hairspray cast is queer? John Travolta, Queen Latifah, or Nikki Blonsky?
All of the above.
All of the above! Yay!
Gay people!
In post, we're gonna chop that up so it sounds like you hate gay people.
No.
Who was the first out gay musician to debut at the top of the Billboard charts?
Madonna.
So no. I'll give you a hint. He was on American Idol.
Adam Lambert.
Adam Lambert.
When they wouldn't let him win and they let the other guy win.
Absolutely.
I was appalled.
Well, it's because, it was the eyeliner.
Because they didn't like liquid eyeliner.
What is comp het?
Compulsory heterosexuality. When you're reading The Lesbian Master Dog, you are thinking you're straight because of Disney movies and the rest of society.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah, that's why every pop star is a lesbian.
In this essay, I'm going to explain that your pop diva is a hag. I'm going to say you are gay.
Yeah, I'm gay.
Yes! I couldn't tell from the Florence Welch of it all.
I know. It's bi. Is that allowed on the show?
Oh, for sure.
Hey, bisexuals out there.